Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Shinigami Thousand-Year Blood War. Chapter 21. In the endless white desert, countless trees like dead branches grow here, and there are many huge ruins in front of it. This is the periphery of Zai Palace. Suddenly, two figures were approaching at a very high speed. One of them, Reiatsu, was extremely powerful. Just when the two figures were about to enter the ruined area, several voids containing powerful Reiatsu emerged from the dunes, and they were Ijuka's level Menos Grande. This is the territory of Master Baraggan, the king of Hueco Mundo, and no one is allowed to trespass. One of the beasts shouted. However, after seeing the person clearly, a figure scolded him, "Idiot, that is Master Szayelaporro." After scolding the name, the figure immediately said respectfully, "Master Apollo, you are back." It's just that Szayelaporro ignored them and hurried in. Now, for him, there is nothing more important to him than research. Human Shingshu was a little embarrassed, but he didn't dare to say anything. After all, Szayelaporro was more than a step stronger than him. "Gargamel, that's Master Szayelaporro," Beast Shingshu said with a little panic. If he caused Master Apollo's displeasure, his life would be in danger. "Yeah." The human form, that is, Gargamel, nodded perfunctorily, and it seemed that he was not in a good mood. He is also a relatively strong existence among the Ijuka's level Menos Grande. Before being killed by Aizen, he has been serving as the guard of the Void Knight Palace here, and even Lord Baraggan relies heavily on him. Now being ignored by Szayelaporro, who can only do research, of course he will be dissatisfied, but no matter how dissatisfied he is, he will not show it. As for Szayelaporro, as soon as he returned to the Void Knight Palace, he went straight to his laboratory. "Klein, go lock this guy in the material storage room, I'll prepare some experimental tools." Szayelaporro handed the leopard cat Shu Klein a rhombus, inside which was a small dragon figure. Lin Shang, who was in the rhomboid at the moment, was not blocked from sound and sight. He kept swimming inside, trying to get rid of this confinement. "Yes, Master Apollo." Klein carefully took over the rhomboid containing Lin Shang, and then went straight to the basement of the laboratory. After opening the door of the basement, it turned out to be an extremely large space, and this space was transformed into a place like a prison. In this prison, there are all kinds of monsters, whether it is a nascent monster, a giant monster, or even Jillian Menos Grande, Ijuka's Menos Grande, there is everything here. What surprised Lin Shang the most was that there were many virtual beings with repeated appearances. They also had powerful Reiatsu on their bodies, but their movements were very rigid, and they only had a few fixed patterns of movements. Is it a replica? Thinking about it this way, Szayelaporro does have the ability to replicate clones in the original book. While Lin Shang was looking around, they came to a huge cage. "Ha ha ha, I told you that if you offend Mr. Apollo, your life would be worse than death. This time, you can bear it." Klein stared at Lin Shang through the crystal diamond-shaped eyes, and said somewhat relieved. Then the rhomboid was thrown into the cage. With a sound of bang, Lin Shang's body began to enlarge after the rhomboid body shattered. After Klein closed the cell door, he said with a smile on his face, "Okay, now that you're here, you can't run away. There is a device to absorb Reiatsu here, so don't waste your efforts." Lin Shang was silent. He found that the Reiatsu he had managed to recover on the way was actually passing away. There was indeed a device to absorb Reiatsu here, no wonder many powerful Shu here were obediently lying on the ground. "You just wait here for Master Apollo's blessing." Shu Klein, the leopard cat, left after saying this. After Klein left, Lin Shang tried to attack the cage. Facing the physical attack, the pillars of the cage were made of unknown materials, and sparks burst out. The released Sero is absorbed directly when it hits the pillar, even the wall behind it is the same. It's so strong. Lin Shang tried various methods, but they couldn't break through the cage here. Just when Lin Shang had nothing to do, he found that the spirit particles in his body were recharged again, and it seemed that there was a slight improvement. "What's going on? My Reiatsu is growing stronger." Lin Shang was puzzled, even his body began to grow. He found that these spiritual particles came from above, and there was a purple symbol flickering on and off. Is that a device to absorb Reiatsu? But why doesn't my Reiatsu decrease but increase instead? Could it be that under normal conditions, my body has been absorbing the spirit particles scattered between the heaven and the earth? It's just that I didn't notice it because it wasn't obvious. Lin Shang closed his eyes slowly, he was carefully feeling the situation in his body. In his induction, the reiatsu in the body first decreased slowly, and then increased sharply. I understand, the reiatsu absorption device here is not as fast as my body absorbs, so not only did not absorb my reiatsu, but I snatched a lot of reiatsu. Lin Shang opened his eyes and suddenly realized. If this is the case, this place is simply a treasure for me, but I don't know how many reiatsu are stored here. Lin Shang said, looking at the thousands of virtual surprises in this space. Excluding Shu who died before, it really is a disaster for Fui. After that, Lin Shang didn't even think about running away, he didn't want to leave such a good place, he wanted to be promoted to Menos Grande here. On the ground, the Zai Palace laboratory. At this time, Szayelaporro was carrying out several large-scale scientific research equipment. These are all his treasures, and he is reluctant to use them. After all, in Hueco Mundo, a place with poor resources, it is difficult to make these equipments. Now that he has discovered the rare species of Lin Shang, he will use these precious equipment. At this time, a spherical void came in. He was an artificial void created by Szayelaporro, and his name was Lumina. After the spherical virtual Lumina entered the laboratory, he bowed to the busy Szayelaporro and said, Master Apollo, just now Lord Baraggan sent someone to inform you that he has something important to discuss with you. Szayelaporro frowned, and then replied, just say I'm not free. Suddenly, a burst of explosion sounded from the periphery of Void Night Palace, accompanied by an extremely huge reiatsu, which was Menos Grande of Vasto Lord level. Another sphere came running in. He was Bologna, who was also a man-made ghost. After entering, he hurriedly said, Master Apollo, an antelope rushed in outside the Night Palace. Hearing this news, Szayelaporro's face changed, could it be Neliel? This woman is really troublesome. Immediately put down the preparations in hand, and after instructing Klein, Lumina and Bologna to guard the laboratory, Szayelaporro hurried to the main hall of Zai Palace. Without solving Nailu, he might not be able to study the subject of Lin Shang. At this moment, the periphery of Zai Palace. A group of Ijuka's level Menos Grandes have fallen, and only the strong Gargamel is still barely holding on. You said you came to find Master Szayelaporro. Gargamel said in astonishment, he thought he was here to challenge Lord Baraggan. That's right, tell that fellow Szayelaporro to return Longlong to me. The green shadow fighting Gargamel was Nailu who was chasing after him. After defeating Neutra, she quickly chased after Szayelaporro and the others in the direction they left. Even Pekshue and Donchaka were left behind by her, which is why she was able to find this place so quickly. Hearing that the half-length antelope in front of him was actually looking for Szayelaporro, Gargamel didn't want to call again, and then said righteously, I will never tell you that Master Apollo's laboratory is in the void. The northeast corner of the Night Palace. Northeast corner. Nailu searched for a direction, then used her skills to super-accelerate and rushed over at top speed. Gargamel only felt an afterimage passing by and then disappeared, but he didn't intend to intercept it. After checking on the ground, it was found that the other heads were only seriously injured, and none of them died. Anyway, you're all like this, why don't you become a part of my power? Gargamel suddenly grabbed the animal-shaped mask next to him. Gargamel, if Lord Baraggan finds out about what you're doing, he won't let you go. The beast that had intercepted Szayelaporro angrily rebuked. Ha ha ha, naive fellow, what do you think you are in Lord Baraggan's eyes? It's just some ants. How could Lord Baraggan be angry because of the death of a few ants? As for me, as my strength grows, I will only be valued more and more by Master Baraggan, ha ha ha. Gargamel laughed wildly and tore off the mask of the beast, and devoured it here without any scruples. As for the beasts and the others, I'm afraid they never imagined in their dreams that they died not at the hands of their opponents, but at the hands of their companions. In the virtual Night Palace. Facing Nailu who rushed in, everyone was unstoppable, and Nailu didn't kill her, but there were no casualties. Of course, internal strife doesn't count. It's just that a lot of buildings along the way have been destroyed, she seems to be looking for something. But this scene made Szayelaporro, who was about to go to the main hall of Void Night Palace, a little nervous because he found that Neliel went straight to the direction of his laboratory. If his lab was destroyed, it would be worse than killing him. In desperation, Szayelaporro gave up his plan to go to the main hall of the Void Knight Palace, and directly lifted off to stop Neliel. Seeing that the person blocking the way was the one she was looking for, Szayelaporro, Neliel's face immediately became tense, and she angrily said, "Szayelaporro, where did you hide Longlong? Return him to me. I don't know any dragons, you should leave quickly, I'm afraid you won't be able to leave when Master Baraggan comes." Szayelaporro threatened. Baraggan is also a Vasto Lord level Menos Grande with him. 2-on-1 is still very sure that he can kill Neliel, but he doesn't know if the guy who pretends to be a god is willing to make a move. "Since you don't hand it over, I'll look for it myself." Neliel ignored Szayelaporro and went straight to the northeast corner of the Void Knight Palace. Who told her the location of the laboratory? Szayelaporro couldn't help cursing when he noticed that Neliel went straight to the laboratory without hesitation. But even if he was angry, he could only stop Neliel at this moment. Boom, boom, boom. All kinds of explosions suddenly sounded in this place, and two extremely amazing Reiatsu collided with each other here. The main hall of Zai Palace at this time. Of course, it is said that it is a main hall, but in fact there is no roof at all, just a frame of the hall. This is because Baraggan believes that as a king, only the entire Hueco Mundo sky is worthy of being the top of his castle. "Lord Baraggan, should we go to support?" A saber-toothed tiger in the hall asked the figure on the throne. "Let that arrogant guy Szayelaporro suffer first." The figure on the throne made an indifferent voice. This figure is the current king of Hueco Mundo, Baraggan. He wears a golden crown, looks like a humanoid skeleton in a purple coat, and holds a huge double-edged axe in his hand, somewhat like Shinigami in mythology. But here he is the enemy of the Shinigami, Hollow. "Yes, Master Baraggan." The saber-toothed tiger retreated respectfully. This saber-toothed tiger is named Geo Weeg, number 26 in the original Arrancar, agile and good at fighting, and extremely loyal to Baraggan. Just when Zai Palace was in chaos, Lin Shang, who was hiding in the basement of the laboratory, already felt that the Reiatsu he could carry had reached a certain limit. His current body has grown to 120 meters, Reiatsu is also in an extremely violent state, and the continuous stream of spirit particles has been sucked into his body. Roar. Lin Shang couldn't help but let out an angry roar. This is simply an underground space, and the sound insulation effect is very good, otherwise his changes would definitely be perceived by Klein and others outside. Along with Lin Shang's roar, two dragon horns began to grow on the protruding part of his head, and the dark golden scales on his body completely turned into golden, and his size continued to grow. Boom. Sound. The indestructible cage that imprisoned Lin Shang was directly burst by his huge body. Facing Lin Shang's more and more terrifying aura, the virtual group locked here began to stir, and even Ijuka's level Menos Grande began to feel uneasy. The changes in Lin Shang's body began to slow down when his body size increased to 500 meters, but he was still not satisfied. Wouldn't it be a waste of Szayelaporro's painstaking efforts to come across such a treasured place and leave so easily? Lin Shang felt that in order to be worthy of Szayelaporro's recognition of collecting Reiatsu for so many years, it would be better for him to eat up and wipe it all at once. Otherwise, when Szayelaporro comes back, I have to collect Reiatsu again. How hard it is. I am really a good idea to find for others. This full of positive energy made Lin Shang not hesitate, and a huge dragon claw went straight to the position of the purple symbol. Boom. A huge roar sounded, the earth was shaking, and even the entire Zai Palace seemed to be shaking. The place where the purple symbol was located was directly pierced by Lin Shang, and countless spiritual particles spewed out immediately. If it was a dripping speed before, then the absorption speed at this moment is as fast as a fountain. This also caused Lin Shang's stagnant body to grow again. Ground, where the laboratory is located. The blow just now was very loud, and Klein and the others on the ground had already noticed the abnormality. Not good, the vibration came from the underground material storage room, something must have happened there. Klein accurately judged the location of the source of the earthquake in an instant, and then immediately took Lumina and Bellona towards the basement ran wildly away. At this moment, the body of Lin Shang in the deep underground space has grown to over 1,000 meters, and the strength of Reiatsu has also increased by at least 10 times compared to before the promotion. Not enough. Not enough. I need stronger power. Lin Shang roared. Even if his strength increased tenfold, he still couldn't fight against Szayelaporro at this time. Lin Shang glanced at the group of voids trapped in the basement. There are many Ijuka's level Menos Grande here, and there are even many copies of them, and they are all weak at the moment. This is a godsend. Boom, boom, boom. Lin Shang began to destroy the cages of other virtuals, and he wanted to absorb the thousands of virtuals here, so as to achieve another step of evolution. With the reappearance of the spirit child, Lin Shang's body did not grow further this time, but his body became smaller and smaller. However, although his size is shrinking, the strength of Reiatsu is increasing sharply, and his Reiatsu is undergoing deep condensation, even a kind of sublimation. What's going on? Szayelaporro, who was fighting against Neliel, paused, looking in the direction of the laboratory with some doubts. He found that there was an extremely large Reiatsu rising rapidly from the laboratory. Immediately afterwards, he saw that the building of the laboratory was shaking, which was caused by the huge vibration from the ground. Szayelaporro seemed to think of something, and his expression became angry. Who is it? Who is it? Call out. Szayelaporro rushed to the laboratory angrily. He wanted to find out that guy, and then make his life worse than death. Don't try to run. Neliel followed after realizing that Szayelaporro had left the battle. At this time, the door to the underground space of the laboratory has been opened. Klein waited for Shu to walk in, but what appeared in front of them was a mess. There were only rows of dilapidated cage pillars left, and the Shu inside had disappeared. Could it be that all the ghosts here have run away? Or are they all dead? Klein said with some horror. If Mr. Szayelaporro found out, he would definitely die a miserable death. At this moment, the sound of footsteps came from the depths of the dark space. Huh, is there still Shu? Klein, Lumina and Bologna subconsciously looked in the direction of the footsteps. As the footsteps got closer and closer, Klein became astonished, even surprised, when he saw who was coming. Humanity. That's right, standing in front of Klein and the others at this moment is a human figure. He can't see Shu's mask on his face, nor can he find the location of Shu's hole. This human has long black hair and golden eyes, is wearing a white robe, and has a weapon at his waist, whether it is a sword or a knife. From a human point of view, this is an extremely perfect man. His face is very handsome, coupled with his unearthly temperament. One has to imagine whether the sword fairy in ancient rumors is this way. Who are you? Klein stuttered and asked. He couldn't feel Reiatsu's breath on this human, but since he can appear here, how could it be just an ordinary human? Before, didn't you say that I couldn't escape from here? A rather magnetic voice sounded, and it was from this man. Are you that dragon? Klein said you several times in a row, because he had a trace of disbelief and a trace of horror. During this time, thank you for your care. The man, Lin Shang, said with a slightly raised mouth. He also didn't expect that he could be transformed into Arrancar directly. Before that, he thought he was going to be promoted to Ijukas, but he didn't expect to shrink into a human form directly. However, his Arrancarization is more perfect than the use of Hogyoku Arrancar in the original book. As for Lin Shang's state at the moment, he is in the Jillian level Arrancar, but because his pre-evolution Reiatsu far exceeds the ordinary lower-level Menos Grande, the strength of the post-Arrancar at this moment has also reached an unimaginable level. Arrancar is the code name after Shu realizes the ability of Shinigami, and is also called Shinigami's virtual. The main feature is that Shu's mask is broken, revealing a human face, and carrying a weapon similar to Zanpakuto, and after Arrancarization, Shu's strength will increase significantly. Impossible, I can still understand after being promoted to Menos Grande. What's the matter with your human appearance? Klein shouted loudly. It seems that everything that happened to Lin Shang has exceeded his cognition. You don't need to know this, because you will soon cease to exist in this world. Lin Shang said indifferently, and then stepped forward, and his figure disappeared as if teleported. What's going on? Klein only felt a gust of wind, and the human had already appeared behind him. Suddenly, he realized that his eyesight went up and down, and a wound was beginning to split from his mask. With a sound of "bah," Klein's body that had been split in half fell to the ground. Until the end he didn't see how Lin Shang made the move. Whoosh! A cloud of blue spirit particles floated out of Klein's body and headed straight for Lin Shang, just like dropping into the sea without any ups and downs. Klein died just like that. Lumina and Bellona didn't realize it until now. They looked at each other, not knowing what to do next. Lin Shang passed them directly. These two guys were artificial fakes created by Szayelaporro. Reiatsu is not strong, just a medicine to recover from injuries when he is purely injured. It doesn't make much sense to him. Returning to the surface again, Lin Shang seemed to be reborn. Before I didn't realize that this world is so beautiful, Lin Shang said to the sky, and at this time he had a huge plan brewing in his heart. But let's settle the matter in front of us first. Lin Shang looked at a black shadow flying towards the sky. It was Szayelaporro who returned in a rage. After landing, Szayelaporro found a human man standing here, and asked a little strangely, "Huh? Who are you? Where are Klein and the others? Didn't you want to study me before? Why did you forget it so quickly?" Lin Shang said flatly. At this moment there was no anger in his heart, only pity for Szayelaporro. "Are you that dragon?" Szayelaporro recalled. There was only one newly brought back recently, and if the others could resist, they wouldn't wait until today. Call out. Another figure arrived here. It was Neliel who came after Szayelaporro. She looked at the man who was confronting Szayelaporro a little strangely, and she felt a sense of familiarity, but she really didn't know this human being. "I see. I thought Szayelaporro left because of something, but it turned out to be Neliel," Lin Shang said with a smile. Unexpectedly, under such circumstances, Neliel could save herself regardless of the danger. This feeling of being cared for is really nostalgic. Hearing this rather familiar voice, Neliel pointed at Lin Shang in astonishment and said, "Could it be that you are Longlong? But how did you become like this? Ha ha ha, has he become more handsome than before?" Lin Shang laughed. "Woo, my cute dragon is gone," Neliel cried while covering her face. It seems that he still prefers Lin Shang's dragon form. The corner of Lin Shang's mouth twitched a little. What kind of aesthetics is this girl? I was called Yingwu before, and she has nothing to do with being cute. While the two were chatting about old times, Szayelaporro's body trembled. It wasn't fear or anger, but ecstatic joy, and he even laughed wildly. Ha ha ha. This made Lin Shang and Neliel look at him in puzzlement. This guy won't get angry and mad, right? Lin Shang thought subconsciously. It's wonderful. Looking at you, I'm afraid something even more incredible has happened, Szayelaporro said slowly after laughing wildly. It seems that you don't give up on me, but I just want to try my current strength. Lin Shang slowly pulled out the Zanpakuto from his waist. However, it is said to be a sword only because this ability is more like Shinigami. In fact, Lin Shang's Zanhundao is in the form of a sword, and various dragon patterns are carved on this sword. What are you? Is it Zanpakuto? As expected of Szayelaporro, he noticed that Lin Shang's sword was a little different at a glance. Think for yourself, Lin Shang said with a smile. It seems that I have to grab you and slowly pry your mouth open, Szayelaporro said with a distorted face. If you can do it, come and try it. Lin Shang smiled confidently. Guy. Lin Shang's attitude made Szayelaporro angry, and several tentacles like sharp swords quickly attacked Lin Shang. Neliel, I'll do it myself, Lin Shang first said to Neliel, who wanted to rush over, and then faced the coming tentacle attack. However, after Szayelaporro's tentacles approached Lin Shang at a certain distance, he quickly changed his attack method. All the tentacles aimed at Lin Shang in a semi-surrounding trend, and each tentacle shone with purple light. Haha, let me see how you run now, Szayelaporro said as if he was sure of winning. A boring trick. Lin Shang stepped back, and the figure disappeared directly. This is Arrancar's unique ringing, which can move as fast as a teleportation. What? Szayelaporro was shocked. Could this be Shinigami's Shunpo? At this time, Aizen hadn't gone to Hueco Mundo, so they didn't know about the Shinigamiization and Arrancar's information at all. I'm here. A cold light came from the side of Szayelaporro, and it was Lin Shang who flashed here. Boom. In a hurry, Szayelaporro's tentacle quickly pulled back to block the blow. How about it? My strength is okay. Lin Shang held Zanpakuto with both hands, pressing down on Szayelaporro little by little. Szayelaporro's face was a little cloudy. He didn't expect that the dragon's strength would increase so much after it transformed into a human form. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of the tentacle colliding with the soul-destroying knife kept ringing here, and there was a feeling that the strength of the two was evenly matched, which made it difficult for Szayelaporro to accept. It seems that there is no way to capture you alive, Szayelaporro said regretfully after forcing Lin Shang back. In fact, he didn't use the last trick, Wang Shu's flash, but that way he couldn't keep the living test subject. Your whole card can't be Wang Shu's flash. Lin Shang stopped and asked. How do you know? Szayelaporro's expression was a little astonished, even Klein and others didn't know this move. Lin Shang smiled, of course I know it from anime, but it's inconvenient to tell him the reason. Szayelaporro, this is the end of the game, and I will let you see my true strength. Lin Shang said to Szayelaporro, who was still wondering. Your real strength. I advise young people to speak less big words. In my opinion, it is very good that you can survive my attack. Szayelaporro said mockingly. Facing Szayelaporro's taunt, Lin Shang ignored it, but raised Zanpakuto in his hand and pointed his sword at the sky. Wake up, Sky Dragon Shu. With a bang, a golden beam of light suddenly rose from Lin Shang's place, and the powerful Reiatsu beam of light shot straight into the sky. What is this? Szayelaporro suddenly had a bad feeling, he always felt that Lin Shang was going to change again. This thick golden beam of light and the accompanying huge Reiatsu also shocked everyone in the main hall of Zai Palace. Even Baraggan stood up from his throne, staring at the huge Reiatsu with his dark eye sockets. It seemed that he couldn't sit still. Not long after, the huge Reiatsu beam of light slowly receded. Lin Shang, who was in the same place, has changed drastically. 2 dragon horns grew out of his head, the key parts of his body were covered with golden armor, and he held a sharp sword shining with cold light in his hand. Just like a holy warrior. Have you changed from human to virtual again? Szayelaporro looked at this scene in shock. What happened to Lin Shang simply refreshed his cognition. Returning to the blade means liberation. Lin Shang said rather sternly. So that's it. Is this the virtual Shinigamiization? After being shocked at the beginning, Szayelaporro gradually figured out the principle of Arrancarization. But how strong is this power? Let me try it myself. Ha ha ha. Szayelaporro seemed to think that this was not a battle, but an experiment. You really are a lunatic. Lin Shang said slowly. He has to admit that Szayelaporro's obsession with research is very strong. Crazy. Szayelaporro said with a smile, tossing his pink hair. A series of purple spirits quickly gathered towards him, and the terrifying Reiatsu quickly made this place boil, which was a power far exceeding that of Sero before. Wang Shu's flash. The huge purple beam of light swept over all objects along the way, heading straight for Lin Shang with unstoppable power. Facing such a powerful Sero, Lin Shang retracted the sword into his body instead, and pushed forward with both hands. He actually wanted to block this terrifying blow with his hands. What? Accompanied by Lin Shang's roar, the unstoppable purple light wave stopped slowly after hitting this golden figure. Call out. After gliding for a certain distance, the golden figure pushed his hands hard, and the huge purple light wave was actually changed direction, heading straight to the sky of Hueco Mundo. As Wang Shu's flash was pushed into the sky, the purple radiance here gradually disappeared, and the golden light on Lin Shang's body also gradually faded. Can you block Wang Shu's flash with just your hands? Szayelaporro looked at this scene in disbelief. Wang Shu's flash, just from the name, is an extremely powerful Sero, but now Lin Shang resisted it with only his hands. That blow just now was quite powerful, and my hands were a little numb. Lin Shang said, stretching his palms. Fortunately, this trick was not issued by Szayelaporro after becoming Espada, otherwise Lin Shang would not dare to follow it so hard. The King Sero used by Espada in the original book is many times stronger than this one, and can even reach the point of distorting the Void Knight Palace. Hearing what Lin Shang said, the corners of Szayelaporro's mouth twitched a little. That was all his Reiatsu. It turned out to be just numb hands. However, this is the way to do damage to the enemy. Lin Shang drew his Zanpakuto and pointed the sword at Szayelaporro. A terrifying power rises from here again, only this time it's a golden Reiatsu. A sense of suffocation enveloped the entire Zai Palace, which was far more terrifying than before. Who the hell is it? Baraggan, who was in the main hall of the Void Knight Palace, was shocked. At this moment, his idea of claiming to be the supreme god was a little shaken. Call out. Baraggan flew directly towards the place where the Reiatsu gathered. He wanted to see who had such a huge Reiatsu. Master Baraggan. All the virtual crowds in the hall saw that Master Baraggan had already flown away, and followed up one after another. At this moment, the center of the battlefield. The golden spirit particles gathered one after another formed an Uzumaki shape at the tip of Lin Shang's sword. Every time Uzumaki rotated, blue lightning burst out, which was formed by the compression of powerful forces. Dragon Sero. A golden Uzumaki shot out from the tip of Lin Shang's sword, as if passing through space and time, and arrived in front of Szayelaporro in an instant. Is it over? At this moment, Szayelaporro felt that death was approaching, and the power of this blow was several times stronger than the King Sero he released just now. As Szayelaporro waited for his death, the golden Uzumaki flashed past him and headed straight for the distant desert of Hueco Mundo. Rumble. The earth was shaking, the Zai Palace was shaking, a huge mushroom cloud rose up, and the terrifying shock waves swept in all directions. Everything in front of me seemed to be turned into a sea of flames. The coming Baraggan group stopped in midair one after another, looking at the scene in front of them in shock. With such terrifying power, does this person have to be above the Vastolord level? Szayelaporro was also shocked when he saw this huge mushroom cloud, but he was a little dazed, and then he turned around and asked in confusion, why? The blow just now had a chance to kill him. Lin Shang smiled calmly, put down the sword in his hand, and explained the reason. Szayelaporro, your obsession with research impresses me. Follow me, and I will give you even stronger power. Szayelaporro looked at the endless sea of flames behind him again, and after feeling the power like the might of God, he turned to face Lin Shang, and slowly lowered his body. Szayelaporro is willing to follow the Lord. In the virtual world, surrendering to the strong is not a very difficult thing, so Szayelaporro has no psychological burden. Besides, he was originally surrendering to Baraggan, and it doesn't matter now. After instructing Szayelaporro to pack his bags, Lin Shang also released the return status. Seeing that the battle was finally over, Neliel ran over excitedly, hugged Lin Shang and said happily, Long, you are so amazing. Ahem, Neliel, I'm almost out of breath. Lin Shang, who was strangled by Neliel, struggled to break free from her embrace. To be honest, at this moment, Neliel was a bit lethal. By the way, Long, how did you become a human? Neliel asked with a hint of curiosity on her face. This is Arrancarization, which allows us to fully possess a human body, and at the same time possess the power of Shinigami. Lin Shang explained to him. But after seeing Neliel poking her chin with her fingers, looking down at her hometown and looking up at the bright moon, Lin Shang knew that she must not understand. I had to explain again, it allows you to gain strength and at the same time transform back into a human body. Oh, Neliel seemed to finally understand this time, and nodded cutely. At this time, Szayelaporro came out with a bunch of rhomboids in his hands, and it seemed that they were all his important equipment. Master Lin Shang. Szayelaporro bowed and saluted. It seems that you have packed up, then let's get out of here. After Lin Shang finished speaking, he led Neliel and Szayelaporro towards the exit of the Void Knight Palace. However, a group of ghosts appeared in front of them, blocking their way. A humanoid skeleton wearing a crown stepped out from the crowd. It was Baraggan. He looked at the human man headed by Yin and asked in a deep voice, Who are you? Lin Shang. Lin Shang said his name coldly. He didn't have much interest in Baraggan. This guy is used to being self-righteous. Even if he is forced to submit, he will definitely rebel in the future. Better leave the Baraggan guy to Aizen. Lin Shang, do you want to surrender to me? I am Baraggan, the king of Hueco Mundo, the existence of the supreme god. Baraggan stretched out his bone hand and invited Lin Shang. After hearing Baraggan's remarks, Lin Shang smiled. This guy is too blind to his own strength. Didn't he see the strength of both sides clearly through the scene just now? Not interested, Lin Shang said with a smile. However, the attitude of his reply caused a group of Baraggan's subordinates to explode, and the saber-toothed tiger Zujio immediately jumped out and scolded, Presumptuous, how dare you talk to Lord Baraggan like this? I think it's you who are presumptuous. Baraggan, are you looking for death for blocking Lord Lin Shang's way? Szayelaporro on the side finally couldn't help but speak. Originally, he was not afraid of Baraggan, but now he has just joined Lin Shang's command, which is the moment to show his loyalty. Baraggan was taken aback when he heard Szayelaporro's words, and asked angrily, "Szayelaporro, are you going to betray me?" Facing Baraggan's questioning, Szayelaporro seemed to hear some funny joke, and said with some disdain, "Baraggan, we were just a cooperative relationship before, and now the cooperation is over." There seemed to be a red glow in Baraggan's dark eye sockets, and a powerful reiatsu rose from him. A group of Ijuka's Menos Grandes behind Gyowag and Baraggan also burst out the reiatsu in their bodies, which immediately made the reiatsu density here reach an unimaginable level. "It's really boring," Lin Shang said indifferently. Boom. First, the golden reiatsu beam of light rose, followed by the pink and purple reiatsu beam of light instantly enveloped here. The three powerful reiatsu scattered the aura of Baraggan and the others in an instant, and even overwhelmed the entire Zai Palace. Facing the three reiatsus, the crowd suddenly felt as if they were walking on thin ice, and only Baraggan was still barely holding on. But it is absolutely impossible to make him 1-on-3, let alone have a reiatsu that is far beyond the Vastolord level. "Baraggan, are you still going to stop us?" An indifferent voice came from the golden beam of light. Judging from this tone, if Baraggan really intends to stop him, Lin Shang probably doesn't intend to leave him to Aizen either. Baraggan hesitated for a while, then retreated to the side and rear, and all his subordinates also avoided a path. Their wise behavior made the three of Lin Shang put away their own reiatsu, and the depressive atmosphere at the scene was immediately relaxed. At this time, there are a total of 7 Vastolord-level combat forces in Hueco Mundo, and Lin Shang has 3 of them. In the face of this force, even Baraggan has to succumb. Looking at the backs of Lin Shang and others leaving, Gyowag asked cautiously, "Master Baraggan, are you letting them go so easily?" "I won't let them be arrogant for too long." The breath of death emanates from Baraggan. He is an omnipotent god, he is the king of Hueco Mundo, and now he has suffered such humiliation, so much hatred must be avenged. Baraggan turned his head in the other direction, and uttered a terrifying and menacing voice, calling all Ijuka's class Menos Grande, "I'm going to the Netherrock Mountains." At this moment, the three of Lin Shang who had already left the Zai Palace were discussing where to go. "Master Lin Shang, my previous laboratory was in the forest of Menos Grande, which can serve as your palace temporarily," Szayelaporro suggested from the side. The forest of Menos Grande. Lin Shang pondered. He had wanted to go to this place for a long time, but he never had the chance. "Nailu, what do you think?" Lin Shang asked Nailu, who was silent at the side. This girl was a bit cold and arrogant when she was silent. "Longlong, are you asking me?" Nailu seemed to be thinking about something just now, and said suddenly. "Szayelaporro said that he has a laboratory in the forest of Menos Grande, and I am asking for your opinion. Do you want to go together?" Lin Shang asked. "Okay. Anyway, Peishui and I are wandering everywhere." Nailu seemed to think of something when she said this, and suddenly exclaimed, "I remembered, I forgot about Peishui and Dong Chaka." Quote. "Longlong, then you all go to the forest of Menos Grande first, and when I find Peishui and the others, I will join you." Nailu teleported away at super speed after saying this, and she didn't know where she was. "Where did you leave Peishui and Dong Chaka?" "In that case, let's go to the forest of Menos Grande first," Lin Shang said helplessly. He wasn't worried about Nailu's safety. There were very few people in Hueco Mundo that could hurt her at this time, but he was worried that she wouldn't be able to find her way. After all, Hueco Mundo was so big. "Okay, Master Lin Shang, then let's dive down from here," Szayelaporro said, pointing to the dune desert under his feet. "From here, enter the forest of Menos Grande." Lin Shang asked in surprise, "Isn't this a sand dune?" "Yes, the Menos Grande forest is in the basement of Hueco Mundo, and the material storage room I built before is part of the Menos Grande forest," Szayelaporro explained while helping his eye socket mask. "That's how it is. No wonder I thought the space in the basement was so big, so it's the forest of Menos Grande." Lin Shang understood a little bit. No wonder he made such a big noise in the basement, but there was no response from above. "Master Lin Shang, That's just a small area of the Menos Grande forest. The real Menos Grande forest is actually a very vast space. Szayelaporro said. Then how do we get there? Lin Shang asked his doubts. Just sink in from here. After Szayelaporro finished speaking, he saw his body sinking slowly, sinking into a piece of sand until it disappeared completely. It's that simple. Lin Shang used Reiatsu to separate the sand and began to sink slowly. After passing through the darkness, they came to the basement of Hueco Mundo, which is the forest of Menos Grande. Looking around, the sky is gloomy, and there are huge gray and white trunks growing around. These trees go straight to the sky, and it is impossible to see where the branches are. Are the branches of these trees the dead branches on the ground? Lin Shang touched the trunks, they were all made of quartz stone. Master Lin Shang, this is the forest of Menos Grande, and above our heads is the sea of white sand. Szayelaporro said, pointing to the white expanse at the top of the sky. It's strange that the sand here doesn't fall down. Lin Shang complained about the environment here. Walking in the forest of Menos Grande, you can see a group of Jillian wandering from time to time, and the density of the lower level Menos Grande is much higher than that of the Hueco Mundo wilderness. But for Szayelaporro, who has the ability to control the virtual group, these Jillians did not attack them. There are usually Jillian Menos Grandes wandering around here, and occasionally Ajuka's level Menos Grandes. Szayelaporro introduced the surrounding scenery to Lin Shang as he walked. It seems that he is very familiar with this place. Soon, the two saw an incomparably huge tree trunk standing here like a sky-reaching tree. Szayelaporro jumped up first, and there was a tree hole about 200 or 300 meters above the ground. Master Lin Shang, this is my previous laboratory. After Szayelaporro finished speaking, he jumped in. Seeing this, Lin Shang also followed in. As the two entered the tree hole, darkness appeared in front of them. Suddenly, there seemed to be shadows moving in the darkness, and there was the sound of flapping wings. Szayelaporro, it seems that during the time you left, this place has been occupied by others. Lin Shang subconsciously held Zanpakuto's handle, and the guy lurking here even made him feel a sense of crisis. Leave now, I don't need to kill you. A voice slowly came from the darkness. Who is putting on airs here? This is my original residence. Szayelaporro yelled at the darkness. I have lived here for hundreds of years, why come to your residence? The unhurried voice came again. Master Lin Shang, do we want to? Szayelaporro turned around and asked Lin Shang for instructions. Lin Shang raised his hand to stop Szayelaporro's next words, and then said to the darkness in a concentrated voice, I don't know who is hiding here, can you come out and see? The figure in the darkness seemed to ponder for a moment, and then saw the endless darkness quickly dissipate until a figure appeared in the depths of the cave. This figure has a pair of large black wings that can cover the sky, a one-piece robe, a mask with a two-horned helmet, and dark green tear stains on its face. Ulquiorra. No wonder there was a sense of crisis just now, Lin Shang thought to himself. Ulquiorra, the fourth Espada in the original work, Vasto Lord level Menos Grande, the only one in Espada that can return to the blade in 2 stages. You have seen me, you can leave. Ulquiorra said rather coldly. It's really indifferent. Lin Shang walked forward, not paying attention to his warning. It looks like you guys are not going to leave. Ulquiorra said blankly. If I'm not wrong, you are Ulquiorra. Lin Shang stopped in his tracks and asked back, but even though he was asking back, his tone was very certain. You actually know my name. Even so, it doesn't exempt you from trespassing on my residence. Ulquiorra thought that Lin Shang and the others were trying to get closer through this, but it didn't work well in Hueco Mundo. You misunderstood, I just want to make friends with you. Lin Shang said with a smile. There is no need for friends between virtuals, especially when the individual strengths are too different. Do you mean that our strength is not enough? Lin Shang pointed to himself and Szayelaporro. That's right, the guy over there is the same Vasto Lord level Menos Grande as me, but Reiatsu is too weak, and you, although I don't understand why you are in human form, but Reiatsu is about the same as that guy. Ulquiorra first pointed to Szayelaporro, then he said to Lin Shang. What a tone, Master Lin Shang, let me teach this arrogant and ignorant guy a lesson. Szayelaporro has long been dissatisfied with Ulquiorra. Not to mention occupying his own laboratory, but also bluntly saying that he is weak, and if he doesn't teach this guy some lessons, I am afraid that everyone will think that his vasto lord is just a decoration. Szayelaporro, stand back. I'll try this guy's strength myself. Lin Shang blocked Szayelaporro's shot and pulled out Zanpakuto himself. He was also curious as to what kind of strength gave Ulquiorra such an arrogant attitude. It seems that you have already negotiated. Since you want to die so much, I will let you do it. Ulquiorra showed his black claws, and the atmosphere of the scene suddenly became solemn. Suddenly, Ulquiorra's figure disappeared in place, and an afterimage quickly attacked Lin Shang. Ding! The sound of Jinji's clinking sounded, and although Lin Shang's Zanpakuto blocked the sharp claw, the huge thrust still caused him to hit it. Such a strong force. And is that speed also ringing? Although Lin Shang stopped his backward thrust, his right hand holding Zanpakuto was still trembling. Oh, you can block my blow. But don't relax for any second. Ulquiorra said without a trace of fluctuation on his face. Hearing this, Lin Shang didn't dare to ignore it. He held Zanpakuto in both hands and waited for it. He didn't expect that Ulquiorra's strength was stronger than he expected. Through the preliminary fight just now, there is indeed a big gap between Szayelaporro and Ulquiorra. No wonder Ulquiorra can have 2 return blades after Arrancar. This is because he is not an ordinary Vasto Lord class. I am afraid that he is the pinnacle of the Vasto Lord class. Just when Lin Shang was analyzing the strength of both sides, a long spear formed by spirit particles appeared in Ulquiorra's hand, and his figure disappeared again in the next second. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of continuous collisions sounded here, and then a figure was punched out of the tree hole. It was Lin Shang. Whoosh! Ulquiorra followed and gave chase. This guy's strength is so strong. Szayelaporro also ran out in a hurry after being shocked. He was not worried that Lin Shang would lose. After all, Master Lin Shang hadn't shown his strength yet. Ulquiorra, who had just chased him out, saw Lin Shang floating in midair calmly, as if waiting for him. Wake up, Sky Dragon Shu! A huge beam of Reiatsu light rose from Lin Shang, as if penetrating the heaven and earth, and at the same time, a sense of suffocation from Reiatsu spread here extremely quickly. What's this? Ulquiorra's always expressionless face finally moved a little. Has it finally been used? This power is really terrifying. Szayelaporro, who had just walked out of the tree hole, looked at the huge beam of light in front of him with some intoxication. As the beam of Reiatsu's light dissipated, a dragon-shaped man with a dragon horn mask on his head and a golden armor covering his whole body appeared. It was Lin Shang who returned to the blade. Okay, we can start the second round. Lin Shang said confidently after returning to the blade. It seems that you didn't show your strength before, but that's good, at least you won't die immediately. Ulquiorra clenched the thunder spear in his hand and said calmly. You can try it, Lin Shang said to Ulquiorra with a sword in his hand. Whoosh! Ulquiorra didn't hesitate at all, and disappeared again. When Ulquiorra reappeared, he had already flashed above Lin Shang, and black sorrow condensed from his claws, aiming directly at Lin Shang's head. But just when he was about to release, Lin Shang lifted up with one hand, and a red light shone from Lin Shang's palm. Boom! The sorrow-to-sorrow momentum sent Ulquiorra flying, while Lin Shang stood unaffected. Ulquiorra, who was bounced by the aftermath, suddenly disappeared in midair as if teleporting, and he launched a ringing spin again. Seeing that Ulquiorra was attacking again, Lin Shang raised his perception to the maximum, and then he noticed a movement on the right side, and the dragon sword in his hand slashed directly. Brush! As soon as Ulquiorra's figure appeared, he saw Lin Shang's dragon sword sweeping towards him, and immediately blocked it with the thunder spear, but the hasty defense still couldn't counteract the huge impact, and he was still swept away. Boom! Ulquiorra's body fell to the distance after smashing a sky-reaching building block. He played against Lin Shang, who was behind the blade, and he was at a disadvantage in the first day of the first match. Suddenly, Lin Shang noticed a long spear emitting thunder and lightning, shooting from the direction where Ulquiorra fell. This thunder gun was extremely fast, like a bolt of lightning galloping. Ha! After realizing that it was impossible to dodge, Lin Shang decisively slashed at Thunder Spear with the dragon's sword. However, although this move caused the thunder gun to shift its direction, it triggered the detonation point of the thunder gun. Rumble! A huge dark green shock wave exploded here, and it is unknown how many trees were broken. This lush and huge group of trees suddenly turned into a forest of broken trees, and the soaring smoke and dust lingered here for a long time. Lord Lin Shang. Szayelaporro was a little uneasy seeing Lin Shang take this blow head-on. Wouldn't Master Lin Shang be so short-lived? Call out. Ulquiorra flew up again. He looked at the thick smoke and said indifferently, "Is it dead? It's really boring." Suddenly, a rather magnetic sound came out of the smoke. "That will disappoint you, Ulquiorra." Immediately afterwards, a gust of wind blew in all directions, causing the smoke and dust here to disperse, and a golden figure appeared again. At this moment, although Lin Shang had some injuries on his body, the place protected by the armor was not damaged at all. The armor on his body was his original dragon armor, whose hardness was unknown how many times stronger than the steel skin, so even if he suffered the terrifying attack just now, it did not hurt important parts. Ulquiorra's pupils constricted a little. The Thunder Spear was his strongest move, yet it didn't do much damage to this guy. It's my turn to attack this time. After a few blinks, Lin Shang appeared in front of Ulquiorra. Ding! The sound of the collision of the dragon sword and the thunder spear resounded here again, and the weapons in the hands of the two trembled intermittently. It was a contest of great strength. As the struggle continued, Ulquiorra's strength gradually became weaker, and he simply used the momentum to retreat. He wanted to get out of the fight with Lin Shang and use the thunder spear for a long-range attack. However, Lin Shang didn't do what he wanted. He directly pushed forward, and the dragon sword in his hand drew afterimages, slashing at Ulquiorra non-stop. With a sound of bang, the thunder spear in Ulquiorra's hand was thrown out due to the unbearable force. Just when Ulquiorra wanted to condense the thunder spear again, a sharp blade appeared on his neck. Seeing this situation, Ulquiorra dispersed the half-condensed thunder spear, and said a little desolately, "Do it. If I lose in your hands, I have no meaning to live." But Lin Shang put down the dragon sword in his hand, and even lifted the returning edge state. "Why didn't you kill me?" Ulquiorra's mood fluctuated significantly for the first time, and he was even a little overwhelmed. In his cognition, losing means death, which is the fate of Shushu. At this time, Lin Shang, who had taken back Zanpakuto and was about to leave, explained after hearing Ulquiorra's question, "We just sparred, and I hope to fight with you after this." After leaving these words coolly, Lin Shang called Szayelaporro and left. "Discuss," Ulquiorra murmured looking at the two leaving figures. "It's really a strange void. Hueco Mundo, ethereal rock mountains." On a tall rocky cliff, a group of powerful ghosts gathered here. Most of them were Menos Grande of Ijuka's level and above, and there was a skeleton ghost of Vasto Lord level sitting neatly on the throne. And at the bottom of this stone cliff, there are four powerful monsters, namely the yellow golden lion, the elk, the white python, and a Vasto Lord level humanoid king shark. Harribel, how many times do I have to say it before you understand? Surrender to me, or don't do anything wrong under my nose. Baraggan said impatiently. Now I give you two ways. The first one I have said before, is to surrender to me. Baraggan said, sticking out a bony finger. What about the other one? Harribel asked flatly. As if seeing that Harribel had no intention of giving in, Baraggan stared at the dark eyes for a while before slowly saying, "Get out of my sight." Having said that, but in the Menos Grande circle, I have my eyes and ears everywhere. Baraggan automatically ignored Lin Shang and others, and pressed to Harribel. A group of Ijuka's level Menos Grande also clamored. Their intention was obviously to force Harribel to surrender to Lord Baraggan. While Harribel was silent, a subordinate of Baraggan walked up to her, a ghost similar to a penguin. Harribel, you are a smart person and you should understand that the only way you can go is to submit to Lord Baraggan. The penguin said with his hand on Harribel's shoulder. Don't touch me casually. Harribel's voice suddenly rose, exuding endless coldness. A cold light flashed across, and the penguin shoe's mask directly split a long and narrow wound. Ah! Penguin Shoe screamed in pain, hugging his face immediately. Dare to behead my subordinates in front of me, you really have the guts of a bear, you'd better not regret it. Baraggan said indifferently while sitting on the throne. It seemed that the casualties of his subordinates did not cause any fluctuations in him. All he cared about was probably his own face. Let's go, Harribel said calmly, not caring about Baraggan's threat at all. Yes, Lord Harribel. Apache, Mira Rhodes, and Sun Sun replied immediately, no matter what danger they would stand with Lord Harribel, this was their belief. Seeing that Harribel and others were about to leave, Jorwig asked the figure on the throne for instructions. Lord Baraggan, do we want to do it now? Baraggan waved his hands and said in his empty voice, don't push too hard, if she joins Lin Shang and Szayelaporro, the situation will become more troublesome. Yes, this subordinate understands, Jorwig said with a bow. At this time, neither Baraggan nor Harribel noticed that in a place they didn't know, on a higher rock, stood three figures wearing white feathers. They are Aizen, Ichimaru Jin, and Tosen Kaname who came to Hueco Mundo. At this time, Ichimaru Jin on the right looked at the scene in the distance, and said a little frivolously, a large group of powerful ghosts. Huh. Hearing no response, Ichimaru Jin narrowed his eyes and looked at Aizen in the middle. He noticed that although Aizen was silent at this time, the corners of his mouth were slightly upturned, and then he asked curiously, Captain Aizen, have you found any more fun? No, not yet. Aizen had a slight smile on his lips, but his eyes were on Harribel who was walking away. Let's get down to business, let's say hello to the king of Hueco Mundo first. Aizen raised his foot and walked forward, Tosen Kaname immediately followed. Really, hey. Ichimaru Jin followed with a smile, but he didn't know what he was laughing at. Hueco Mundo, the forest of Menos Grande. Since the battle between Lin Shang and Ulquiorra, he and Szayelaporro have found another residence nearby. They restarted the laboratory, and the research topic is called virtual Shinigamiization, which is Arrancar. During this period, Lin Shang also studied his own adaptability to spirit suns, and finally learned that he has two strange abilities. The first type is the existence he kills, and part of its reiatsu will be absorbed by him. This broke Lin Shang's earlier cognition, he always thought that he was absorbing all the reiatsu that was killed. But after testing with sophisticated instruments, he found that after killing a Jillian, the reiatsu he improved was only a quarter of Jillian's total reiatsu. No wonder that after he killed the lower-level Menos Grande Jillian, the promoted reiatsu was very limited, which also solved Lin Shang's doubts. Although he is also in the realm of the lower-level Menos Grande, his reiatsu is close to that of Vasto Lord's upper-level Menos Grande, and Jillian's quarter reiatsu is of course not obvious to his. And after Shu reaches the Vasto Lord level, killing other Shu does not need to devour masks to gain power, but it cannot absorb existence other than Shu. So Lin Shang's ability is special in only 2 points. One is that he has this ability in low-level Shu, and the other is that he can not only absorb Shu's reishi, but also Shinigami and Quincy's reishi. The second ability was tested repeatedly using the reiatsu restraint device. The results of the research show that the efficiency of Lin Shang's body absorbing spirit particles from the outside world is much higher than that of ordinary people, but this is not obvious in the environment where the spirit particles are thin. In this world, every spirit body, whether it is Shu, Shinigami, or even Quincy, will automatically absorb the spirits scattered in the sky and the earth. However, everyone absorbs spiritual particles at different speeds, which is also the difference between geniuses and ordinary people. If the speed of absorbing spiritual particles is converted according to the numerical value, then the speed of ordinary Shinigami or ordinary virtual absorption spiritual particles is 1 scale. The so-called genius is to increase on this basis, but at best it can reach a scale of 10. Lin Shang's speed of absorbing spirit particles is 100 scales, which is why the ordinary reiatsu device is ineffective against Lin Shang, because its speed of plundering spirit particles is not as fast as that of Lin Shang. After learning about his own details, Lin Shang made changes to his plan to improve his strength. He asked Szayelaporro to create a large number of reiatsu absorbers to build a special space densely populated with reiatsu, which is somewhat similar to the bandits of negation created by Aizen. Bandit of negation, a substance created by Aizen, which conceal the spirit body in the dimension, and the closing time is determined by the reiatsu of the closed person. While researching and improving his own strength, Lin Shang also pays friendly visits to his good neighbor Ulquiorra from time to time. At first, Ulquiorra was annoyed by Lin Shang, but he gradually got used to it. Although he didn't talk about everything, at least Ulquiorra was willing to take the initiative to talk about the topic. Xiaowu, I'm going to attack, Lin Shang said while maintaining his normal state, holding Zanpakuto tightly. Don't use which form today. I'm afraid you will lose badly. Ulquiorra reminded. Ha ha ha, I just want to see how long I can fight with you in this state. Lin Shang laughed heartily. Really? I won't show mercy. Ulquiorra said flatly. Then it would be great. Lin Shang held the knife in both hands and turned into an afterimage, directly facing him. Ding! The sound of Jin Ji's crowing sounded, but this time Ulquiorra's expression became strange, because Lin Shang's strength was much stronger than before. Boom! 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 The figures of the two kept flashing here, and every collision between Zanpakuto and the Thunder Spear set off a strong wind. Of course, the most surprising thing is that Lin Shang actually fought back and forth with Ulquiorra without returning the blade. Call out! A black light flashed, it was Seireitei of Ulquiorra. Seireitei. Facing the attacking black Seireitei, a red light shone from Lin Shang's palm, and the same powerful Seireitei pushed out. Boom! The mighty red Seireitei blocked it for a few seconds before being blasted away by Ulquiorra's black Seireitei. The black Seireitei headed straight towards Lin Shang with unabated power, but the few seconds he blocked just now were enough for Lin Shang. This black glow only penetrated an afterimage. Lin Shang, who was dodging Seireitei, had just flashed out when he was hit by Ulquiorra's thunderous spear from above, and a powerful and heavy spear directly slapped him to the ground. Thunder! Just when Ulquiorra was about to make up a thunder shot, he seemed to remember something, but in the end he didn't send out the blow. Call out! Ulquiorra restrained her Reiatsu and slowly lowered to the ground. Looking at Ulquiorra that landed, Lin Shang sat on the ground with a look of embarrassment. Why didn't you fire that thunder shot just now? Didn't you mean that you didn't plan to keep your hands? Ulquiorra looked at Lin Shang, who looked like this, and said indifferently, I just think you are still useful. It would be a pity if you just died like this. Really? Then I really appreciate Master Ulquiorra's attention. Lin Shang stood up and said jokingly. Tell me about you. How do I feel that you have become stronger again? Ulquiorra asked with a hint of doubt. During this period of time, every time Lin Shang fought against him, his strength was stronger than the previous one, but this time he fought with him for so long without returning the sword, his strength has improved by more than 1.5 stars. Lin Shang shook the dust off his body, and said to Kaido unhurriedly, actually, I did a special practice yesterday. Special practice? Ulquiorra pondered, not knowing what he was thinking, but he didn't ask further. The special practice mentioned by Lin Shang is actually entering the special space created by Szayelaporro. Of course, Lin Shang also named this space, called the Spirit of Negation. The space of the Spirit of Negation is filled with extremely rich spirit particles, which they collected from the forest of Menos Grande using the Reiatsu device during this time. After absorbing these spiritual seeds, Lin Shang's strength has increased again, even approaching the realm of intermediate Menos Grande at Jukas. However, this method can only be used once in a while, and each collection takes a long time. Another point, Lin Shang found that when he absorbed a large amount of spirit particles, his body felt saturated. This is one of the reasons why he often spars with Ulquiorra, hoping to further increase Reiatsu's upper limit through fighting. After a few small chats with Ulquiorra, Lin Shang seemed to have remembered something, and said to Ulquiorra, Xiao Wu, I may have to leave for a while. Leave. Ulquiorra's expression remained unchanged, but his tone was full of doubts. That's right, one of my companions hasn't come to join us, I'm afraid something will happen to her. Lin Shang explained, the figure of Neliel appeared in his mind, and he didn't know where that silly girl went. Really? Ulquiorra said a little lonely. He didn't know why he was like this. Maybe since his birth, Lin Shang was the first existence who had spoken so many words to him. When Ulquiorra was born, he was a white humanoid with only vision. He was excluded because his appearance and habits were different from his own kind. Since then, he has been wandering alone in Hueco Mundo, trying to bury himself in a void. This is a man who has fallen into autism. Although he looks calm and silent on the outside, his heart is extremely empty. During the period of acquaintance with Lin Shang, he probably said more than he said in the previous 100 years. Is this the heart? Ulquiorra touched where the heart was, and there was a dark void. Hueco Mundo, Void Night Palace. Baraggan, who had returned from the Void Rock Mountains, was sitting silently on the throne. Looking at the kneeling subordinates in the hall, Baraggan made an empty and deep voice. The army of trash that can't resist the invasion, don't let it go. What do you think? This made everyone in the hall feel bitingly cold, and even the timid ones began to shiver. Don't you dare to respond. Baraggan looked at the crowd who only buried their heads lower, but dared not reply. Recently, he feels that his position in Hueco Mundo has been shaken. First, Lin Shang and Szayelaporro rebelled. Yes, for him, the king of Hueco Mundo, the behavior of Lin Shang and others is rebellion. Afterwards, the process of recruiting Harribel was also quite difficult. These things that made him lose face have shaken his status as the king of Hueco Mundo, so he was full of anger at this time. Suddenly, 3 powerful Reiatsu approaches from the periphery of Zai Palace. A few flashes of cold light flashed, and the Reiatsu guarded outside the Zai Palace were suddenly empty, leaving only Gargamel's extremely weak Reiatsu. It's so strong, Gargamel said in horror as he looked at his teammates who were instantly killed all over the place, clutching a long and narrow wound on his chest. Hey, is Captain Aizen holding back? Ichimaru Jin asked with a smile. No, it was this head that resisted my random knife. Aizen said flatly. Then let me kill him. Tosen Kaname held Zanpakuto and started to walk over. Save his life and use it as an experimental material. Aizen stopped Tosen Kaname's shot, and then walked into the Void Knight Palace indifferently. Tosen Kaname looked at Gargamel, who was lying on the ground gasping for breath, and dropped his hand from Zanpakuto's position. What a lucky guy, Ichimaru Jin said with a smile when he passed by Gargamel, and then entered Zai Palace with Tosen Kaname. At this time, in Zai Palace, all the Shu in the palace realized that in just a few seconds, the Reiatsu guarding the outer perimeter of Zai Palace had all disappeared. What's wrong? Could it be that even Gargamel was killed? Some Shu began to panic, and Gargamel was also a relatively powerful existence among the Ajukas. What are you panicking? A scolding sound came from the throne, immediately quieting down the chaotic situation. At this moment, 3 humans wearing white feathers walked in. Immediately attracted the attention of all Shu, and some Shu approached these 3 people subconsciously. Who is here? A crow asked a little uneasily. HMPH. No matter who it is, if you dare to trespass into the Night Palace, then go to hell. An alien said impatiently, wondering if he wanted to show off in front of Baraggan. Brush. A cold light flashed, and the mask of the alien was split in half. The person who struck out had brown skin, purple hair, and was wearing goggles to cover his eyes. It was Tosen Kaname. Tosen Kaname, the captain of the 9th Division of the Soul Society, joined Gote 13 for revenge. He was extremely dissatisfied with the Central 46 of the Soul Society, and later joined Aizen. The death of alien Shu did not scare Shu Kyun, but aroused Shu Kyun's rage and anger. How dare you make a move here, court death. Let's go together and kill them. A group of Ijukas level Menos Grande headed by Jorweg immediately surrounded the 3 of Aizen, intending to attack them together. Wait! A hollow and deep voice sounded from Baraggan who was sitting on the throne. Lord Baraggan. After hearing this order, Geowiger and others immediately stopped attacking and looked at the figure on the throne with some puzzlement. I'm here, just to pass the time. The huge figure of Baraggan stood up from the throne, and picked up the double-edged axe beside him. Facing Baraggan with a terrifying aura, Aizen felt calm. You must be the king of Hueco Mundo, right? Meet you for the first time, I am Aizen Sosuke. Baraggan, who was about to make a move, thought that Aizen and others were afraid, so he laughed horribly. Kaido. Yes, I am Baraggan, the king of Hueco Mundo. Seeing that you're not wearing masks, it shouldn't be hollow, right? Is it a Shinigami or a human? Forget it, no matter what you are, if you want to surrender, it's still too late. Facing Baraggan's question and answer, Tosen Kaname pointed to a dilapidated Void Knight Palace, and couldn't help but reply, surrender. Surrender. I have to say that your tone is really loud. Could it be that this ruined wall gave you courage? HMPH. This old man is a supreme existence. I thought you would surrender his life only after surrendering, but now I don't know what to do. Baraggan scolded. The king of Hueco Mundo really likes to joke. Tosen Kaname couldn't help mocking after hearing what Baraggan said. At this time, Aizen interrupted them. Yes, you don't need to share common knowledge with them, it's important to do business. Tosen Kaname looked at the calm Aizen, and stopped arguing. Looking at the Baraggan on the steps, Aizen slowly pulled out the Zanpakuto from his waist, and said to him, "King of Hueco Mundo, would you please take a look at my Kyoka Suigetsu?" On this day, Zai Palace ushered in its new owner. At the same time, Baraggan also ushered in the most humiliating moment of his life. The majestic king of Hueco Mundo, the supreme existence, is now forced to submit by several Shinigami. Compared with this, the matter between Lin Shang and Harribel is a trivial matter. "Aizen, sooner or later I will make you pay with blood." Baraggan swore secretly while looking at the figure on the throne. Chapter 31. Hueco Mundo, the Forest of Menos Grande. After saying goodbye to Ulquiorra, Lin Shang instructed Szayelaporro again before leaving the Forest of Menos Grande. In fact, Lin Shang is still vigilant about Szayelaporro, and has not let him know some of his core secrets. For example, killing the nullifier to increase strength. Szayelaporro believes that Lin Shang comprehended Vasto Lord's skills in advance. In terms of absorbing spiritual particles, Szayelaporro only knew that Lin Shang absorbed faster than ordinary people, but he didn't know how much. For Szayelaporro, Lin Shang can't say that he has complete trust. What if this guy completely turns to Aizen in the future? So Lin Shang just regarded him as a subordinate, not a companion. But currently Szayelaporro is quite honest, and he is serious about completing the tasks he assigned. Let's observe for a while before we talk. Recalling various details in his mind, Lin Shang set foot on the Hueco Mundo wilderness again. It's hard to imagine that there is a world under this desert. Lin Shang sighed looking at the desolate scene in front of him. If Nailu goes to look for Peishui and Dong Chaka, she will definitely return to the Hueco Mundo wilderness, but the Hueco Mundo wilderness is so big, I just don't know which direction she is in. Lin Shang looked at the same scenery in all directions. Some people don't know which direction to choose. Suddenly, in one of the directions, a large number of Reiatsu rose up, and there was even a collision between them. Is this the battle between Shinigami and Hollow? Lin Shang was puzzled by Shinigami's Reiatsu in the feedback from the detection circuit. How could Hueco Mundo have Shinigami? Could it be the Hueco Mundo expedition? Forget it, let's go and have a look first. After speaking, Lin Shang disappeared here with a few flashes. At this moment, at the place where Lin Shang found that there was a collision of Reiatsu. A group of Shinigami are surrounding several Ijuka's level Menos Grande. The strength of this group of Shinigami is stronger than the 13th division Lin Shang encountered in this world before. Moreover, there is also a middle-aged man wearing a white haori, but there is no serial number on his clothes, but his Reiatsu cannot be underestimated. At this moment, this middle-aged man in white feathers saw that his subordinates were still unable to solve the empty group in front of him. Then he said to a figure at the front, "Shoju, go and deal with the remaining Menos Grande, and leave this pretty good leopard to me." The Shinigami named Shusuke paused when he heard the voice, and then said regretfully to the leopard in front of him, "It's a pity. It's rare to meet such a good opponent, but next you face Captain Kitahara. There is absolutely no chance of winning. His name is Tianbei Shoju. He is currently the vice-captain of the Hueco Mundo expedition team." "Cut, it doesn't matter who comes," Bao Shu said impatiently. "Grimmjow, the other party is the captain rank among the Shinigami, don't be careless." A steady voice came from the virtual group that was fighting the Shinigami crowd. It was Xiaolong's voice. This party was none other than Grimmjow, D-Roy, Edelad, Nakim, and Sharon, who were hunting in the wilds of Hueco Mundo. But unfortunately, it happened to collide with the Hueco Mundo expedition team who came to crusade. Grimmjow ignored Xiaolong's reminder. He was very confident in his own strength, and was looking at Kitahara Kangsuke approaching with interest. "You don't seem to be afraid." Kitahara walked slowly, as if Hueco Mundo was some kind of vacation place. "Just a Shinigami, why should I be afraid?" Grimmjow looked ferocious. "Ha ha ha, what a mere Shinigami, then do you know how many Ijuka's level ghosts like you have died by my sword?" Kitahara Kansuke pulled out Zanpakuto and said sarcastically. He was originally a noble from the Soul Society, but he was sent to the Hueco Mundo expedition because of a mistake, and he became the captain of the expedition after years of fighting. Thousands of ghosts have died under his hands these years, not to mention the Ijuka's level leopard in front of him. Even Menos Grande, the superior of the Vasto Lord level, he has the confidence to defeat it. Grimmjow, the sixth Espada in the original book, Menos Grande, the peak of the Ajuka's class, has an impatient personality and blind confidence in his own strength. TCH, use whatever ability you have, don't be so talkative. Grimmjow said indifferently. Seeing Grimmjow's bad attitude, Kitahara Kangsuke's expression darkened. Forget it, it's useless to talk about it with you, after all, you're going to die soon. I saw Kitahara Kangsuke laying Zanpakuto flat and chanting the liberation spell, cut everything, Murasama. There was a flash of white light, and a misty katana appeared in Kitahara Kangsuke's hand. This knife seems to be invisible, and there seems to be rain and dew on the sharp blade. This is my Zanpakuto Murasama, its blade is stained with the blood of thousands of heads, now sacrifice it with your blood. Kitahara pointed at Grimmjow with his sword. It's just a different look. Grimmjow said disapprovingly. This Shinigami makes him very uncomfortable, he always brags about how strong he is, or how many ghosts he has killed, is he trying to scare himself? Thinking of this, Grimmjow didn't bother to talk nonsense, his claws lit up with a blue light, and Reiatsu quickly strengthened. Leopard King's Claw. With a roar of Grimmjow, the paws with 5 blue lights rushed towards Kitahara Kangsuke instantly. Ding! 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 The sound of light claws colliding with Zanpakuto kept ringing here. At this moment, Grimmjow made at least 5 attacks, but they were all blocked by Kitahara Kangsuke's Zanpakuto. Just when Grimmjow and his party were fighting Shinigami, Lin Shang was standing on a towering rock to watch the show. Didn't realize it was Grimmjow fighting the Shinigami. However, with Grimmjow's current strength, it may be difficult to fight against the captain-level Shinigami. Lin Shang analyzed the battle situation not far away. At this time Grimmjow was clearly at a disadvantage in the battle with Shinigami, and judging from this situation, the captain should not have used Bankai yet. As for Xiaolong, he was still able to maintain the battle situation, but with the help of the vice-captain level Tianbei Shoju, their situation began to be precarious. I just don't know where Captain Shinigami came from again. Lin Shang recalled and found that there was no information about Kitahara Kangsuke. However, Tien Beisho helped him know him. In the original book, after Aizen and others rebelled, he was the candidate to replace Ichimaru Jin as the captain of the third team. But this also gave Lin Shang an idea. Since Aizen can come to Hueco Mundo for layout, he can also go to Soul Society for layout. After all, the Soul Society has too many hidden powers, such as the Zero Division, the 5 Great Nobles, the Secret Mobile Team and the Kido, and so on. Its strength can be said to abuse the current Hueco Mundo, and some information is not even leaked in the original work, which also needs to be obtained by Lin Shang himself. Just when Lin Shang had an idea for Soul Society. Grimmjow in the field was covered in blood at the moment, and his attack on Kitahara Kangsuke basically didn't work. But every time Zanpakuto in Kitahara Kangsuke's hand attacks, it can cause a certain amount of damage to him, and his steel skin can't stop it at all. What's the matter? Have you given up already? After cutting another wound on Grimmjow's body, Kitahara realized that he didn't attack again. Now his Zanpakuto village rain, after being stained with Grimmjow's blood, quickly gathered drops of dew around the blade to wash the blade. Grimmjow resented. He felt this Shinigami belittled him, but he was indeed at a disadvantage. Looking at Xiaolong's side, the battle situation is more dangerous than his side, after all, they have all degenerated from Ijukas to Jillian. After Xiaolong and others grew to the Ijukas level, because they could no longer evolve, they voluntarily let Grimmjow bite them, so that they could evolve to the Vastolord level as soon as possible. But because of the damage of the mask, he has degenerated into a lower-level Menos Grande, but his combat power is still far superior to the average Jillian. What? Tien Beisho assisted his own Zanpakuto Leihuo, knocked down Nakim with a single blow, and then slashed the strongest Xiaolong, basically setting the stage for the battle. What? Worried about your companions? Actually, you don't need to worry, because you will be like them soon. Kitahara held Zanpakuto and walked towards Grimmjow step by step. Facing the approaching Kitahara Kangsuke, Grimmjow's mouth started to glow red, it was his Sero. Call out. A powerful red beam spewed out from Grimmjow's mouth, and shot straight at Kitahara Kangsuke, while his own figure rushed to the battlefield of Xiaolong, Tianbei Shusuke and others. Too naive. Kitahara launched Shunpo, not only easily dodged Grimmjow's Sero, but also quickly chased him. Swish. Kitahara Kansuke appeared in front of Grimmjow as if teleporting, raised his Zanpakuto and aimed at Grimmjow's mask and slashed at it. Grimmjow's pupils shrank instantly, and the knife made him feel the threat of death. At the moment of death, Grimmjow's memories flashed non-stop, the moment he evolved into a Jukas, the moment he met Xiaolong and others, and the expectations Xiaolong and others had for him. In just a short moment, he seemed to have lived his whole life, and today is the end of his life, but why is he so unwilling? Grimmjow looked at the approaching cold light, and his heart was filled with anger, which was a kind of anger at his own powerlessness. Suddenly, a white figure appeared between him and Kitahara Kansuke, and blocked Kitahara Kansuke's Zanpakuto with a knife. The flow of time seemed to return to normal in an instant. Grimmjow looked at the figure in front of him in surprise, and he survived. But who saved him? Huh? Kitahara Kansuke also looked at the figure in front of him in surprise. Is it Shinigami? Or the Quincy? But he was able to block his own attack. Boom! With a vigorous wave of both hands, the figure shook Kitahara Kansuke away, and said to him, "I'm sorry, I got involved in your battle when my hands were itchy." It was Lin Shang who came. He saw that Grimmjow was in the most critical moment, so he chose to shoot. Who are you? Kitahara Kansuke looked solemnly at the new one in front of him, whether it was a human being or a Shinigami. You are in Hueco Mundo, but you ask me who I am. Lin Shang asked back, as if he had said it, but he didn't seem to say it. Impossible. How could there be Shinigami's Zanpakuto? Kitahara Kansuke's face was full of disbelief. His first reaction was disbelief, but what appeared in front of him? No matter who you are, if you dare to save Shu, you are our enemy. Kitahara quickly calmed down. Sure enough, it is worthy of being a captain, and it has been adjusted so quickly. Lin Shang thought to himself. Maintaining vigilance against Kitahara Kansuke, Lin Shang turned his head slightly to Grimmjow behind him and said, "You go to support your companions, as for this, leave it to me." Hearing this reminder, Grimmjow immediately adjusted from the shock. No matter what, first save Xiaolong and wait for Shu to talk. Thinking of this, Grimmjow immediately rushed to the virtual battlefield where Xiaolong and the others were. Where are you going? Kitahara noticed Grimmjow's movement and immediately chased after him. Swish. Lin Shang appeared in front of Kitahara Kansuke as if teleporting, and said calmly, "Your opponent is me." Shunpo. Kitahara Kansuke looked at Lin Shang who suddenly appeared in front of him, and called out in surprise. If this guy in front of him is really false, he must report it to the Soul Society, and then step up the raid on Hueco Mundo, otherwise the dominance of the Soul Society will be shaken sooner or later. Kitahara Kansuke doesn't want to chase Grimmjow anymore. After all, Lin Shang has brought him too many surprises, and he has even thought that if he is allowed to grow, it will even shake the foundation of Soul Society. No matter what kind of existence you are, I will kill you here today. Kitahara Kansuke said in a deep voice. Just right, I also want to try Captain Shinigami's strength. Lin Shang was calm Kaido. The two faced each other with knives, making the atmosphere very solemn. Suddenly, Kitahara Kansuke took the lead in attacking and arrived in front of Lin Shang in an instant. Jingle. The swords collided with each other here, and the two refused to give in to each other. This is a duel between masters. Without knowing the opponent's ability, if there is a slight negligence, it is possible to lose everything. Call out. The two passed by each other, and two cold lights flashed suddenly, resulting in a small wound on both of them. Judging from the results, it seemed that they were evenly matched. But Lin Shang found that the place where he was cut couldn't heal. He has high-speed regeneration, so now he can't heal such a small wound. Seeing Lin Shang observing the condition of the wound, Kitahara Kansuke showed a smile. Have you noticed it yet? This is the ability of my Zanpakuto village reign. The place where I was cut will always be eroded by my spirit. Lin Shang's face froze. No wonder he couldn't heal the wound, but it's not impossible to remove these corroded spirits. I only need to consume twice the Reiatsu to offset it, but in this way, if there are too many wounds, the Reiatsu consumed will be extremely terrifying. No wonder Grimmjow's Reiatsu dropped so fast just now. Noticing that Lin Shang's wound had healed, Kitahara Kansuke smiled and didn't say much. His ability is a conspiracy, and as long as he fights against him, he will inevitably be suppressed. Sure enough, after the battle again, because Lin Shang kept avoiding physical harm, he began to restrain himself in his shots, so that he was once at a disadvantage. Suddenly, a flame sprayed near them. Kitahara Kangsook stared at it, and it turned out to be the move of Tianbei Shusuk. At this moment, because of Grimmjow's joining, Xiaolong and Shu Shu actually stood up again, which greatly increased the pressure on the Shinigami. In addition to Tien Beisho assisting Shikai, several Shinigami also activated Shikai. But Grimmjow alone beat them. After all, Grimmjow is very close to Vasto Lord, and he must not be underestimated if he is really crazy. After realizing this situation, Kitahara turned around to face Lin Shang, and said with some helplessness, "I wanted to play with you for a while, but it seems that time is not allowed." Lin Shang's expression froze. Does this guy want Bankai? Bankai, the final form of Shinigami Zanpakuto, can more thoroughly liberate and use Zanpakuto's abilities, and its Reiatsu and combat power will also have a qualitative increase. I saw Kitahara holding Zanpakuto with both hands, exuding an inexplicable sense of suffocation. Bankai, it's raining in the spirit village. A burst of dazzling white light instantly enveloped Kitahara Kangsook, and caused his Reiatsu to skyrocket rapidly. What's going on? Grimmjow, who was about to attack a Shinigami in the distance, discovered that the Reiatsu of the Shinigami captain just now had strengthened again. Has the captain started to use Bankai? It seems that the enemy should not be underestimated. Tianbei Shusuk said with a shocked face. At this time, he has not yet mastered Bankai, so he still has an inexplicable awe of this power. At the moment the main battlefield. As the light gradually dissipated, the samurai sword in Kitahara's hand had turned into a blood-red ice sword, and red raindrops began to fall from the sky. Looking at the drops of red rainwater falling on his body, Lin Shang realized that they were eroding his Reiatsu. The range of this rain cloud is only about 10 meters away from Kitahara Kangsook, and it is still a clear sky outside this range. This is the further improvement of my Zanpakuto Murasama. As long as you fight with me, you will continue to reduce Reiatsu. Kitahara Kangsook, who has finished Bankai, pointed at Lin Shang with a blood-red ice sword. So that's it seems that the battle must be settled quickly. After feeling the speed of the red rain's erosion, Lin Shang quickly calmed down and had already thought of a countermeasure. A quick fix. It's up to you, Kitahara Kangsook said with a hint of sarcasm. After all, his Reiatsu has increased several times now, while Lin Shang's Reiatsu has continued to decline. That's right, it's up to me, Lin Shang said calmly. He doesn't know how many times Reiatsu has improved after Shinigami Bankai, but at present Kitahara Kangsook's Reiatsu is not as strong as Arrancar's Ulquiorra. The only trouble is his Zanpakuto's ability to corrupt Reiatsu. Boy, I don't know where your confidence comes from, but if you want to dream, I can give you a ride. Kitahara Kangsook swung the ice sword in his hand, and suddenly a gust of wind blew towards Lin Shang. Facing Kitahara Kangsook's threat, Lin Shang didn't pay any attention, but raised Zanpakuto in his hand and pointed his sword at the sky. Wake up, Sky Dragon Shu. The huge Reiatsu beam of light broke through the rain cloud above Lin Shang in an instant, and caused his Reiatsu to skyrocket, and a Reiatsu that was much stronger than Kitahara Kangsook quickly rose here. A strong sense of suffocation permeated the entire battlefield, and everyone was shocked, and they all looked over in stunned amazement. No way, someone is stronger than the captain's Reiatsu. Tianbei Shusuk said in horror. Such a terrifying Reiatsu. Could it be Vasto Lord? Xiaolong and the others said in horror. Grimmjow said rather unwillingly. At this moment, Reiatsu of both sides was far above him, which hit him who was always very confident. In front of this Reiatsu, some ordinary Shinigami with relatively weak strength even knelt on the ground and gasped for breath. Suddenly, the huge Reiatsu beam of light slowly dissipated. Lin Shang, wearing a dragon horn mask, holding a cold dragon sword, and covered in golden armor, appeared. It changed from Shinigami to hollow again. Kitahara Kangsook looked at this scene solemnly. At this moment, he no longer felt the sense of relaxation he had before, but instead felt a pressure like a mountain. At this moment, Lin Shang, who returned to the blade, found that the part of his body covered with the dragon armor can effectively resist the red rain, while the part not covered by the armor, dripping into the red rain, will still erode his Reiatsu. However, although the dragon armor can defend part of Hong Yu, it is still not good for him to fight for a long time. So Lin Shang still insists on the previous decision, and a quick decision. Captain Shinigami over there, in order to avoid too much Reiatsu being consumed by your ability, I will not play with you slowly. Lin Shang raised the dragon sword in his hand and pointed it at Kitahara Kangsuke. Kitahara Kangsuke suddenly became nervous, and subconsciously clenched the red ice sword in his hand. Then he saw a golden Uzumaki energy bomb condensed on the tip of Lin Shang's sword, and every time the golden Uzumaki rotated, he could feel a lingering fear. Swish! Kitahara Kangsuke immediately left the position just now and changed direction, but Lin Shang's dragon sword seemed to have sensed it, and also turned to the past. What's the matter? Am I locked? Kitahara Kangsuke found that no matter where he moved, Lin Shang's dragon sword could accurately target him. In that case, then interrupt your attack. Kitahara Kangsuke suddenly appeared beside Lin Shang, swung the blood-red ice sword in his hand and slashed at it. If he is cut by his ice sword, the eroded Reiatsu will be more terrifying than Shikai's. Coupled with the cooperation of Red Rain, it can erode a large number of Reiatsu in an instant, which also interrupts Lin Shang's attack. Facing Kitahara Kangsuke's melee attack, the corners of Lin Shang's mouth turned up slightly, revealing a disdainful smile. Aren't you going to hide? Kitahara Kangsuke frowned after seeing Lin Shang's reaction, and things were a little abnormal. Boom! Just when Kitahara Kangji was about to strike Lin Shang, a golden mask emerged, almost causing the blood-red ice sword in his hand to fall out. Is this negation? Kitahara Kangsuke stared at this scene dumbfounded. Negation can isolate the internal and external world, which means that it is difficult for him to attack Lin Shang's body at this moment. Just when he was shocked, Lin Shang's dragon sword pointed at him again, and at such a close distance, he already felt the breath of death. I can't help it, we have to keep the distance. Kitahara Kangsuke didn't move sideways this time, but leapt away into the distance. Stupid, if I'm close, I might hesitate. After all, I might hurt Grimmjow and the others, and now I run far away. Lin Shang looked at Kitahara who was getting farther and farther away and sneered, but obviously he can't hear it anymore. Stab it! A blue electric arc flashed from Lin Shang's hilt to the tip of the sword, which was more powerful than before. Dragon Sero. The golden Uzumaki-like Sero instantly ejected from the tip of Lin Shang's sword, and chased Kitahara Kangsuke with an irregular movement pattern. This is the Sero Uzumaki bullet compressed by the powerful Reiatsu, and all species along the way are swept into particles between heaven and earth just by touching its edge. At this moment, Kitahara Kangsuke, who is using Shunpo to leave quickly, finds that the sense of crisis behind him is getting heavier. Subconsciously looking back, he saw a golden Uzumaki hitting him like a bolt of lightning. No way, I've already run so far. Facing Uzumaki Sero, who was rushing towards him, Kitahara Kangsuke's pupils constricted instantly. Rumble. A huge mushroom cloud rises here. It is a merciless destructive power. It is a terrifying flame that even changes the color of the sky and the earth. The soaring flames were imprinted in everyone's eyes, and the scorching air waves even made people feel as if they were right in front of their eyes. Captain Kitahara. All the Shinigami shouted. It's over. Tianbei Shoju knelt on the ground in despair, hammering the ground with his fist unwillingly. Without Captain Kitahara, they will never be able to evacuate in a Hueco Mundo full of Menos Grande. Call out. A stream of red light flew rapidly from the direction of the mushroom cloud. It was a group of spirit particles shining red light. This immediately caught Lin Shang's attention. It was the first time he discovered that there would be red spirits after killing an enemy. As the red spirit submerged into his body, Lin Shang's already amazing Reiatsu boiled again. It wasn't until a certain point was reached that these boiling Reiatsu leveled off. Trying to hit this critical point, Lin Shang found that it seemed to be an extremely strong door, and his huge Reiatsu could only loosen it slightly. Could this be the tipping point when Jillian was promoted to a Jukas? But why can Reiatsu, who is comparable to the peak of Vasto Lord, push away a little? When watching others promoted Jukas, it feels as simple as drinking water, but it's so difficult when it's your turn. Just when Lin Shang was studying the door in his body. On the other battlefield, the faces of all the Shinigami were full of panic. They began to panic, and some even fled towards the periphery of Hueco Mundo. Seeing this, Xiaolong and Shu Shu immediately launched a counterattack, but the high-ranking officials in Shinigami were not weaker than them, and if they really wanted to escape with all their heart, Xiaolong and Shu Shu could not stop them at all. Seeing that several Shinigami officers were about to flee, Xiaolong immediately shouted to Grimmjow, "Grimmjow, let's get rid of these Shinigami together." Cut. Grimmjow had no intention of pursuing. If it was a powerful enemy he was interested in, he would fight to the end, and even make some crazy moves, but chasing and killing a group of people who lost their fighting spirit, he really couldn't arouse this interest. At this moment, Grimmjow's eyes are only on Lin Shang. He is very interested in this man, and he can't even control the warlike desire in his body. This is an opponent worth fighting. But he understands that he is no match for this man, and he even saved his own life. When will I, Grimmjow, be reduced to the point where I need someone to save me? Suddenly, Grimmjow noticed that Lin Shang disappeared from sight. Where did you go? I didn't even see a trace. Grimmjow looked around for Lin Shang. It wasn't until Reiatsu's fluctuation came from a distance that he realized that Lin Shang had appeared so far away in an instant. In a few blinks, Lin Shang took care of the escaped Shinigami officers. When he came back, Xiaolong and Shu also finished off the remaining Shinigami, and there was only one vice-captain, Susuk Tengai, because his opponent was Grimmjow, and Grimmjow didn't bother to kill him. Next, I'll give you a ride. Xiaolong raised his huge claws and aimed at the bald Tianbei Shusuk. Wait, a figure suddenly flashed out. It was Lin Shang who teleported over with the ring. Seeing that it was the mysterious man who rescued himself and the others, Xiaolong and the others looked at each other, somewhat at a loss as to how to face Lin Shang, but Xiaolong put down his sharp claws first. After a while of silence, Xiaolong stood up cautiously and asked, "I don't know why your lord helped me. I happened to be passing by and found that Shinigami was making trouble in Hueco Mundo, so I couldn't help but take action." Lin Shang said with a random reason. He didn't show too much enthusiasm for Shu, such as Grimmjow and Xiaolong, because in Hueco Mundo, the word harmony is basically not used between Shu and Shu. Just like Xiaolong and others now, although they seemed to be on the united front just now, they are probably on guard against themselves now. In that case, can we leave? Xiaolong asked tentatively. When Xiaolong asked this sentence, De Roy, Adorard, and Nakim all became nervous. Of course, you can leave on your own. Lin Shang raised his hand as a gesture. He himself has no intention of attacking Grimmjow. In addition, Xiaolong's strength is not bad after a few false Arrancars, and he may consider taking over his subordinates in the future. Xiaolong and others breathed a sigh of relief after hearing Lin Shang's reply, and immediately bowed and said, "Then I won't bother you anymore, and I will leave." Just when Xiaolong and others were about to leave, Grimmjow, who had been dull all this time, suddenly asked, "Hey, what's your name?" Facing Grimmjow's arrogance and rudeness, Lin Shang was not angry. Instead, the corners of his mouth slightly curled up. "Lin Shang. Lin Shang, I admit that you are very strong, but I will not admit defeat. I will become stronger and challenge you again. Also, my name is Grimmjow." Grimmjow issued a challenge to Lin Shang, and at the same time reported his name, which is his respect for the strong. This frightened Xiaolong and others. If this mysterious person named Lin Shang changed his mind, he and others would not be able to leave. "I'm waiting for you to challenge anytime, Grimmjow," Lin Shang said with a faint smile. After hearing Lin Shang's response, Grimmjow didn't say anything, and turned around and left with Xiaolong and the others. Seeing him like this, he probably wanted to improve his strength as soon as possible. Seeing Grimmjow and other figures gradually disappear, Lin Shang also looked away, looking at Tianbei Shouju who was kneeling there silently. Tianbei Shusuk, his father died at the hands of Soul Society Captain Yamamoto Genryusai, and now he is lurking in the Shinigami expedition team, always wanting to avenge his father, am I right? Lin Shang seemed to be asking rhetorically, but it is said with certainty. What? Tianbei Shouju's pupils constricted, and he looked at Lin Shang with incredulous eyes. He has always hidden these secrets in his heart, but he has never said them to the outside world. How do you know? Tianbei Shouju stood up and asked with bloodshot eyes. As if he already knew Tianbei Shouju's reaction, Lin Shang continued, "You don't need to know how I know this, but as long as you surrender to me, I can help you realize this revenge plan." Surrender to you? Tianbei Shusuke's face changed from sunny to cloudy. Of course he hated Captain Yamamoto who killed his father, but he never thought of using Shu's power. What? Don't want to give up the dignity of Shinigami in your heart? Don't want to use the power of Shu? Lin Shang seemed to see what he was thinking in his heart. Tianbei Shusuke remained silent. His father was originally a disciple of Captain Yamamoto, and he knew from childhood that Shunai is an evil spirit. Even if he had the idea of revenge, his plan still relied on his own strength, and cooperating with Shu was something he never thought of. If you think this way in your heart, then I think too highly of you. Whether it is Shu or Shinigami, they are just a kind of common spirit. Shu may not all be evil, and Shinigami may not all be good. There is no right or wrong in power itself, it only depends on whose hands it is in. If you plan to give up revenge, then I can finish you now. Lin Shang put his hand on Zanpakuto's handle. As long as Tianbei Shusuke insisted on this idea, he would never show mercy. After hearing Lin Shang's words, Tianbei Shoju frowned first, and then slowly relaxed it. He knelt down on one knee, bowed to Lin Shang and said, I am blessed by God, and I am willing to submit to Lord Lin Shang. I only ask you to give me the strength to help me take revenge. Since this day, Lin Shang has added another Shinigami subordinate in the process of searching for Nailu. At this moment, the periphery of Zai Palace. If you look at it from a height, you will find that there are countless ants carrying all kinds of stones. They are like ants, densely packed towards a point in the center. This central point is exactly where the Zai Palace is located, and the ruined palace is currently undergoing restoration and expansion work. Oh, I didn't expect this group of Shu's movements to be quite fast. On a sand dune, Ichimaru Jin said with a smile. It's an honor to be able to contribute to our new world. Aizen smiled at Kaido. Master Aizen, after the construction here is completed, shall we attack the Soul Society? Tosen Kaname asked in a deep voice. Yes, you are in a hurry. I have found Urahara Kazuki's Hogyoku clue, we have to bear it until we get it. Aizen comforted him. Yes. Tosen Kaname calmed down Kaido. To this day, he still cannot forget the tragic death of his friend and the injustice of the Soul Society. This is also the reason why he follows Aizen. He can't wait for the just new world. Let's go. Let's try this Hogyoku in my hand, whether it can produce Shinigami. Aizen said, taking out a blue-black radiant gemstone, which is the half-finished Hogyoku he created. Hogyoku. Looking at the Hogyoku in Aizen's hands, Ichimaru Jin looked nonchalant, but seemed to be watching all the time. Hogyoku is divided into two in total. One is made by Aizen who sacrificed tens of thousands of Rukongai souls who have the potential to become elite Shinigami, and the other is created by Urahara Kazuki based on absorbing a large amount of void. When two Hogyoku are fused together, it becomes a complete Hogyoku, and its ability is somewhat similar to making a wish. It can realize what the holder wishes in his heart, such as breaking the boundary between virtual and Shinigami, etc., but the condition is that the holder must have a certain strength base. At this time, the three of Aizen have come to Hueco Mundo for the second time after seizing the dominance of Zai Palace. One is to inspect the reconstruction of Zai Palace, and the other is to use the semi-finished Hogyoku in their hands to conduct experiments. Because they haven't rebelled against the Soul Society yet, they only come to Hueco Mundo after Aizen unleashes Kyoka Suigetsu each time, also to convince the other Shinigami that they've always been in the Soul Society. Of course, the time they stay in Hueco Mundo is also very limited. After all, there are several strong presences in Soul Society, and if the time is too long, it is easy to show their flaws. As Aizen and others entered the Void Knight Palace, which was being expanded, Menos Grande along the way saluted one after another. Nominally, the Hueco Mundo at this moment is still ruled by Baraggan, but the high-level Menos Grande knows that this Aizen master is the real king of Hueco Mundo. Pushing open the door of the laboratory, the three of Aizen walked in one by one. In the laboratory at the moment, there are only a few miscellaneous people doing cleaning work, and there is no real scientific researcher. Invite our protagonist today, please. Aizen looked around the crude laboratory and didn't say anything, but ordered Tosen Kaname at the side. Yes. Tosen Kaname replied and walked out. Not long after, more than 30 Menos Grandes walked in following Tosen Kaname. These Menos Grandes included Jillian and Ijukas. Most of them held their heads high, but a few were trembling slightly. Today, I will give you power, but there will be some small risks in the process, but the power you will get will definitely exceed your imagination. Aizen explained calmly. He doesn't care about these virtual deaths, but in order to prevent them from affecting his experiment, it's better to make it clear in advance. Master Aizen, we are all ready. Gargamel stood up and said, since he saw Aizen's terrifying strength last time, he abandoned Baraggan and surrendered to Aizen immediately. Seeing that Gargamel was the first to stand up to show his loyalty, the other Shu also hurriedly followed suit. Only one penguin Shu whose mask was scratched remained silent. This penguin is the one whose mask was cut by Harribel, and his name is Loic. The breakage of the mask caused him great pain, but luckily he did not die. However, because of the damaged mask, he can no longer be promoted to Vasto Lord, and even the form of Ijukas has begun to show signs of degeneration, which fills his heart with endless anger, and he wants to gain power for revenge. Boom! As Aizen began to use Hogyoku to Arrancarize the hollow, the first hollow that came up exploded because it couldn't bear the force. All the Menos Grande looked at each other, but they didn't say anything. After all, this is the first one. But the next 5 in a row were blasted apart because they couldn't bear the force. This super high death rate has already made all the Menos Grande fearful. There were even some who wanted to escape, but were cut in half by Tosen Kaname who was guarding the door. I'm coming. Seeing all the Menos Grande trembling, Loic the penguin came out. What's your name? Even though 6 Menos Grande were dead, Aizen's expression remained unchanged. Loic, my name is Loic, Master Aizen. Penguin X Loic said with a slight bow. Aizen nodded, and didn't say anything more. He held up the Hogyoku in his hand, and beams of light refracted towards the penguin Shloik. Awe was forcefully poured into the body by Hogyoku's power, and Loic suddenly howled in pain. Just when everyone thought that he would turn into smoke particles like Menos Grande before, Loic stopped howling. His body began to shrink rapidly, until it transformed into a human body. Immediately afterwards, his mask also began to change. The mask near the mouth and nose was directly broken, revealing half of a human face, but even after Arrancar, there was still a long and narrow scar on his face. With the mask shattered, his Reiatsu began to increase dramatically, and soon the strength of this Reiatsu surpassed the former Hueco Mundo King Baraggan. Is this my power? Loic clenched his fists and felt the endless stream of Reiatsu in his body, his face full of disbelief. Loic's success excited the rest of the Menos Grande, scrambling to participate in the experiment. However, after Loic, only 9 of the more than 30 Menos Grande successfully achieved Arrancarization, and the mortality rate was as high as 2/3. However, these Arrancars are quite different from the Arrancars in the original book. First of all, the mask on the face is basically only half broken. From this point of view, the degree of Arrancar is not high. Also, they don't have Shinigami's Zanpakuto, which means they can't return to the sword, and don't have the ability to release form. As for the performance of Reiatsu, it is only about the same as Vasto Lord and Ijuka's level Menos Grande without Arrancar. This kind of Arrancar can only be called pseudo-Arrancar in the eyes of Aizen et al. It seems to have failed. Although Ichimaru Jin had a regretful tone, he kept a smile on his face. Aizen replied calmly, without any expression on his face. To him, this was just a simple experiment. In this experiment, only 2 Ijukas, Gargamel and Loic, successfully carried out Arrancarization, and the rest were Jillian Arrancar. That is to say, they still have some difficulty in carrying out Arrancar for the high-level Menos Grande. Suddenly, Tosen Kaname remembered a rumor circulating in Zai Palace, and said to Aizen, Master Aizen, it is said that Zai Palace originally had a Menos Grande who specialized in researching spirit bodies, but later defected with an Arrancar named Lin Shang. If we can get them back, it will save a lot of trouble. Really, an autonomous Arrancar, a researcher, that's exactly what we need right now. The corners of Aizen's mouth turned up slightly. It seemed that this rumor aroused his interest. I'm afraid we don't have so much time to look for it, Captain Aizen. Ichimaru Jin reminded. Aren't there ready-made candidates here? Aizen said, looking at a group of fake Arrancars in front of him. I see. Ichimaru Jin followed suit. At this moment, a group of pseudo-Arrancars are venting their strength, and even their somewhat hypocritical faces are distorted. It seems that the surge in strength has changed their mentality. Everyone Arrancar. Aizen called out to the Arrancars, but it was a pity that the Arrancars didn't seem to hear them, and still vented their strength on their own. Facing the ignorance of the Arrancars, Aizen stopped communicating with them with words, and a terrifying Reiatsu suddenly rose here. Buzz. In an instant, the entire Zai Palace was under this Reiatsu, and a terrifying sense of suffocation pervaded here, making all Shu feel unprecedented pressure. Especially in the nearest laboratory, all the pseudo-Arrancars felt it was difficult to breathe, and even a few weaker Jillian Arrancars collapsed on the ground. After seeing all the Arrancars showing fear, Aizen took Reiatsu back. As Reiatsu dissipated, all the Arrancars knelt down on the ground breathing very quickly, without the previous arrogance. I can give you power, and I can also take it back. Aizen said lightly, looking down at the group of Arrancar lying on the ground. This frightened the crowd of Arrancars to bury their heads even lower, and they didn't dare to take a breath. It's really good to be Captain Aizen. Every time I see this Reiatsu, I feel a tremor. Ichimaru Jin said with a smile on the side. This is the scariest part of Aizen, not only has the ability of Kyoka Suigetsu, but also its own Reiatsu is extremely terrifying. Kyoka Suigetsu, the ability is complete hypnosis. As long as the other party sees the moment of liberation, they will be completely dominated by the five senses, and even Reiatsu will be deceived. Silver, you will have such great power soon. Although Aizen had been looking down at the Arrancars, he said this to Ichimaru Jin and Tosen Kaname behind him. Thank you Aizen-sama, Tosen Kaname said immediately. Ichimaru Jin smiled and didn't say much. At this moment, facing a group of fake Arrancars who were completely overwhelmed, Aizen announced the appointment. Being the first hollows to gain this power, from this I shall call you Espadas. Yes, Master Aizen. All the Arrancars responded immediately. Soon, they assigned Espada numbers according to strength. The first Espada is Gargamel. He was originally Ijuka's level Menos Grande. After Arrancar, Reiatsu has strengthened a lot, and has surpassed the original Hueco Mundo King Baraggan. The second Espada is served by the earliest Arrancar's Loic, who is also an Ijuka's level Menos Grande. After passing through Arrancar, there is no risk of degeneration, and his strength is also above Baraggan at this moment. After the third Espada Dorodoni, Jillian Menos Grande, Arrancar reached the peak level of Ijuka's. The fourth Espada Aronilo, Jillian Menos Grande, and Arrancar have reached the peak level of Ijuka's in strength. They have the ability to devour dead voids and take their abilities and Reiatsu as their own. The fifth Espada Taruti, Jillian Menos Grande, and Arrancar have reached the ordinary level of Ijuka's after Arrancar. They are petite and female. Sixth Espada Amber, Jillian Menos Grande, and Arrancar have reached the ordinary level of Ijuka's. The seventh Espada just reached the level of Ijuka's after Arrancar, Jillian Menos Grande, Jillian Menos Grande, and Arrancar, with an eye mask with a star mark on his forehead. After the eighth Espada Christ, Jillian Menos Grande, and Arrancar reached the ordinary level of Ijuka's. After the ninth Espada Diego, Jillian Menos Grande, Arrancar, the strength reached the weakened level of Ijuka's. After the zeroth Espada Pastor, Jillian Menos Grande, Arrancar, the strength reached the weakened level of Ijuka's. Next, your task is to invite the powerful Shu to join the Zai Palace. Of course, the most important thing is to find an Arrancar named Lin Shang and the original researcher of the Zai Palace, Szayelaporro. Aizen ordered to the newly formed Espada members rode. Yes, Master Aizen. The Arrancars knelt on one knee and replied. At this moment, they have just recovered. After all, the power displayed by Aizen just now is too terrifying. Even Gargamel and Loic, who already possessed the combat power of Vasto Lord, did not dare to have any thoughts of resistance, let alone the remaining Arrancar. At this time, Lin Shang, who was far away in the wilderness of Hueco Mundo, did not know that Aizen had formed the original Espada. But even if he knew, there shouldn't be any reaction. Because the first batch of Espada is really just a title. After all, if you want strength but no strength, you want rights but no rights, there is nothing to look forward to. Shusuke, release your Bankai. In a wilderness, Lin Shang and Tianbei Shoju stood facing each other. Yes, Master Lin Shang. Tianbei Shoju said solemnly while holding the Zanpakudo in his hand. At this time, some time has passed since he followed Master Lin Shang. During this time, under the guidance of Master Lin Shang, he has mastered his own Bankai, which is about to be revealed at this moment. Bankai, Thunder Fire Flame Shell. With the roar of Tianbei Shusuk, the Zanpakuto in his hand burst into an extremely bright light. As the light faded, a gigantic weapon replaced the original Zanpakuto. The front end of this weapon is in the shape of a red hook blade, and the end is in the shape of a white shield with a cannon-like opening. At this time, Tianbei Shouju had not equipped the taper knife, so there was no black dragon claw behind Bankai. The taper knife is a biological weapon secretly developed by the Sha Dalu family. After being equipped, it will absorb the spiritual power of the holder endlessly. Although it can enhance the strength of the holder during this period, it will lose the power after the spiritual power is exhausted. Lost self-awareness by being bitten by a knife. Shouju, attack and try. Although Lin Shang already knew Tianbei Shouju's Bankai ability, he still wanted to try it himself. Master Lin Shang, be careful. Tianbei Shusuk reminded, his Reiatsu at this moment is at least several times better than that of Shikai. Come on, Lin Shang said calmly. Hearing this, Tianbei Shouju stopped hesitating immediately, raised the thunder fire in his hand and spun it. An astonishing flame blazed fiercely from the end of his weapon. Seeing that the flame was getting stronger and stronger, Tianbei Shusuk stopped spinning, pointed the front of the hook blade at Lin Shang, and a spherical flame quickly condensed into one. Thunder Flame Bomb. Accompanied by Tianbei Shouju's angry shout, a powerful spherical flame bomb blasted towards Lin Shang in an instant. Facing this powerful flame bomb, Lin Shang moved his footsteps lightly, as if his whole body was moving sideways, so that the flame bomb only hit an afterimage. Boom! The thunder bomb exploded on the sand dunes in the distance, and the power of the flames splashed in all directions, blasting out a piece of scorched land. As if he knew that this blow would not work, Tianbei Shouju was not too surprised. He put the weapon on the ground and said in a deep voice, "Che Yan Longya." Boom! A pillar of fire erupted directly from the ground under Lin Shang's feet, and no matter where Lin Shang flashed, a pillar of fire surged up from below. Is it a ground attack? Lin Shang jumped into the air after realizing that the ground could not hold his feet. Master Lin Shang, you have been tricked. A voice came from a higher place, accompanied by a thick pillar of fire. It turned out that Tianbei Shouju had already moved to this position to wait. Lin Shang looked at the oncoming pillar of fire calmly, only to see a red light shining from his fingertips, and a small energy bomb condensed out. False bomb. With Lin Shang's flick, the virtual bullet collided with Tianbei Shouju's fire pillar in midair, and there was a violent roar suddenly. The dense smoke and dust produced by the explosion filled the sky, blocking the sight of both sides. Suddenly, a silhouette of a figure rushed out from the smoke and dust at high speed. It was Tianbei Shouju. His thunderfire hook blade was shining with the color of glazed flames, and he gave up his long-range advantage and wanted to attack Lin Shang with melee combat. However, the attack distance and angle of his attack are very tricky, and it is definitely not easy to dodge. Facing Tianbei Shouju's unstoppable blow, Lin Shang didn't draw his sword, but just stretched out a palm to meet him. With a pop, Tianbei Shouju's Zanpakuto Thunder Fire was firmly pinched by Lin Shang's palm. What? Tianbei Shouju's eyes widened. This is the Zanpakuto after his Bankai. The power is a bit lacking, the long-range power is worth seeing, and the lethality in melee combat is really limited. Lin Shang released the Thunder Fire after commenting, making Tianbei Shouju retreat. Tianbei Shusuk, who fell to the ground, had a cloudy expression on his face. He thought that after mastering Bankai, even if there was still some gap between him and Master Lin Shang, the difference should not be too big. But through this fight, the gap with Lord Lin Shang is getting bigger and bigger, which makes it really hard for him to accept. Even if he is still not as good as the dead Kitahara Kansuke at this moment, it shouldn't be that bad, right? Realizing that Tianbei Shouju seemed to have been severely hit, Lin Shang walked slowly towards him after landing. Shouju, your strength has indeed improved a lot, and Bankai's ability is also quite interesting. Hearing Lin Shang's words, Tianbei Shouju raised his head, and his eyes recovered a gleam. But what Lin Shang said next made his heart ache. As for why you didn't force me to draw out the knife, it's because I've become stronger than before. Lin Shang said with his lips curled up slightly. In fact, although Tianbei Shouju has learned Bankai, his current strength is stronger than Abarai Renji who knows Bankai in the original book. And Lin Shang has half a foot into the Ijuka's level Arrancar at this moment. Even if he does not return the blade, he still has the peak level Reiatsu of Vasto Lord. So this battle is like a battle between an elite captain and a powerful vice captain. The difference in strength is too great. You say that Abarai Renji is going to fight against Unohana Retsu and Kyoraku Shunsui, isn't that abusing children? Of course, at this moment, Lin Shang is also fighting with Kyoraku Shunsui after Shikai. To deal with Bankai's elite captain, Lin Shang can only say that I am under development. Shouju, since you have mastered Bankai, you can go back to Soul Society. Lin Shang said to Tianbei Shouju after he released Bankai. Back to Soul Society. Tianbei Shouju thought he had heard wrong, and asked subconsciously. That's right, go back to the Soul Society to hide, continue to improve your strength, and wait for that day to come. Lin Shang said lightly, looking at the pale sky of Hueco Mundo. Lord Lin Shang, I don't know when that day will be. And are you not afraid that I will betray you when I return to the Soul Society? Tianbei Shouju asked cautiously. You won't, you don't belong to the Soul Society in your bones. Lin Shang first said affirmatively, and then added, even if you really betrayed, even if you hide in the Soul Society, I can still find you. He said this while looking directly at Tianbei Shouju. At this moment, Lin Shang's eyes shone with incomparable confidence, which was his confidence in himself. This kind of strong self-confidence even affected Tianbei Shouju, and the trace of luck in his heart suddenly disappeared. He didn't know where Master Lin Shang got his confidence, but he had a vague feeling that this kind of thing was likely to happen. Tianbei Shouju finally listened to Lin Shang's order and left here. He wanted to return to the Soul Society to continue improving his strength and wait for the day of revenge. But Master Lin Shang asked him a few words, but he didn't understand. The first sentence is never to touch the taper knife. The second sentence is not to act rashly without authorization. With these doubts, Tianbei Shouju left. As night falls, the bleak moonlight fills the land, and the desolate grass under the cold moonlight produces countless mysterious shadows, which look like gloomy undead flames from a distance, endlessly alive. In this area, there are several jingguan formed by piled-up corpses. They are like towers, which are daunting. Under this tower-like pile of corpses, there are two human figures. They are squatting here, without any words, only endless silence. One of them was a tall male figure, with short curly dark brown hair, gray-blue eyes, and a little beard on his chin, like an ordinary uncle. There is a white necklace on his jawbone. If you don't look carefully, you won't be able to find that it is actually a virtual mask, but it also proves that his Arrancar is extremely high. The other is a little girl with short light green hair and a purple flame pattern next to her left eye. She is wearing an open-chested vest and shorts, and a horn mask on her head covers her left face, the upper part of the. This little girl is also an Arrancar, but her Reiatsu is not very strong. Suddenly, a figure was illuminated by the moonlight on the ground, and a human man in a white robe stepped here, which also brought a trace of sound to this silent place. It was Lin Shang who came. After parting with Tianbei Shouju, he heard that there was a powerful Shu nearby, so he came here intentionally. Looking at the pile of corpses in front of him and the two squatting figures in front of him, Lin Shang suddenly realized, no wonder the nearby voids were terrified when they heard this. Because this is the area where Coyote Stark and Linette are located. Coyote Stark, the first Espada in the original book, Hueco Mundo's first independent Arrancar existence, because the weak Shu will be automatically consumed and die if he approaches him, so he has been looking for someone who can be with him without being weakened to death, a powerful companion. As for the little girl Arrancar, it is Linette. She is the soul separated from Stark due to loneliness. Without these piles of corpses, the scenery here is pretty good compared to Hueco Mundo. Lin Shang walked to the vicinity of the two and looked at the surrounding environment. This caused a strange gleam in the eyes of Stark and Linette, because they had never been so close to a void. Don't you think so? Lin Shang asked with a smile on his face. Probably. As if infected by Lin Shang's smile, Stark finally regained a trace of anger and responded. Have you been sitting here all this time? Lin Shang also squatted next to them, feeling what they could see. Well, All I saw were Shu's corpses, and the scenery was not good at all. Because no matter where we go, there is no void to approach us, so Stark and I stayed here. The little girl Linette said dully. I see. Lin Shang could understand the feelings of Stark and Linette. When I first came to Hueco Mundo, there were no relatives and friends around, not even a person who could talk and communicate, and I felt an infinite sense of loneliness. After all, when a modern person suddenly leaves the world he is familiar with and comes to an unfamiliar environment, he will always feel uncomfortable at first. Some things, only when you lose, you can understand his importance to you. I can feel that you are strong, Stark said, staring at Lin Shang. Maybe, Lin Shang said ambiguously. It depends on who you are comparing with. If you are comparing with Stark next to you, I am afraid that you will lose more than half of yourself. But how many Stark KS can there be in Hueco Mundo? In this way, I am really strong. My name is Lin Shang, and I'm currently looking for partners to join. Lin Shang introduced himself to the two of them while looking sideways. That's a coincidence, we're also looking for a partner. Stark said seriously. He used to be looking for it by himself, but later he was looking for it with Linette. Then you want to join us? I still have a few companions in the forest of Menos Grande. Lin Shang tried to invite Stark and Linette. Are they strong? Our situation is a bit special. Stark asked melancholy, looking at the mountains of ghosts in front of him. I don't think there is any problem with them. Do you want to meet them together? Lin Shang stood up and walked in front of them, reaching out his hand to ask them. Stark and Linette glanced at each other, then held Lin Shang's hand at the same time, stood up and said, okay. Just when Lin Shang invited Stark and Linette, there was a burst of smoke and dust on the Hueco Mundo wilderness. They were several powerful virtual beings moving at a very high speed. They didn't mean to hide at all, and Reiatsu released it unscrupulously, as if to say, if the strength is strong enough, just come and hunt us. Until a jungle area appeared in front of them, these powerful Tsukai slowly stopped. As the smoke dissipated, 5 human figures were revealed. Although their bodies were leaning towards humans, their appearances were extremely terrifying. The positions with masks were fine, while the positions without masks were mostly gorilla-eyed beasts. Tooth. They were the first Arrancars created by Aizen and members of the first Espada. Gargamel, according to my subordinate officer's report, a human man walked into this area, and this human being is very similar to the Lin Shang described in the Void Knight Palace. The 9th Espada Diego pointed out said while looking at the jungle area ahead. In that case, let's catch this guy and dedicate him to Lord Aizen. Gargamel said with a rather airy air. Since Arrancar, coupled with the title of number 1 Espada, he has completely disregarded anyone except Aizen. Even Baraggan, the former Hueco Mundo king, has a faint status in the Void Knight Palace. Down. Gargamel, I heard that there is a powerful ghost nearby, should we be more cautious? The 6th Espada Amber reminded with a hint of worry. Amber, I think you're scared. With Gargamel's strength, who else can fight against Hueco Mundo except Lord Aizen? 0 Espada Pastor immediately stood up and said. Although these words are exaggerated, his words really benefited Gargamel. It's ridiculous, how could I be afraid? I just want to remind everyone that it's better to be more cautious. Besides, when Lord Aizen is away, Master Baraggan is still hosting the Void Knight Palace after all. The 6th Espada retorted immediately. However, what he said made Gargamel, who was high above him, dissatisfied. What is the Void Knight Palace and Baraggan's host? Then what are you? HMPH. Amber, you don't have your Lord Baraggan to support you here. Gargamel finally couldn't help but sneered. Why do I need Lord Baraggan to support me? It's just that I think Lord Baraggan is the former king of Hueco Mundo after all. After the 6th Espada Amber said this, he found that Gargamel's Reiatsu was rising sharply. He immediately held back what he was going to say next. As Gargamel's Reiatsu exploded, the atmosphere in the field was somber. Seeing that a battle was about to break out, the 9th Espada Diego immediately stood up and comforted him. Amber, Hueco Mundo speaks by strength, and now Gargamel's strength is above Baraggan, of course it can't be the same as before already. Although these words were addressed to Amber, they also meant to please Gargamel. The era of Baraggan is over after all, and now is the era of Lord Aizen and our Espada. The eighth Espada Christ, who had been silent for a long time, also stood up and said something at this time. Yes, when Master Aizen is away, Gargamel is our guiding light. Zero Espada Pastor hastily echoed. You, sixth, Espada Amber, pointed at them and didn't know what to say. They used to be Baraggan's subordinates, but now they all surrendered to Aizen after gaining power, and completely rebelled against Lord Baraggan. Humph. Gargamel snorted coldly. After seeing the other people say that, and adding that Amber also restrained himself a lot, most of the anger in his heart disappeared immediately. Top Espada has always had a mind of his own, which annoys him. This Amber must find a way to get rid of, but I can't do it directly, it's better to let him die accidentally in the battle. And those Baraggan diehards, they have to be cleaned up when they go back. Gargamel had already thought of various ways to deal with them in a blink of an eye, but he didn't show it at the moment. The most important thing right now is to complete Master Aizen's task first. After this matter, you and I will have a duel. As for now, the priority should be to fulfill Master Aizen's order. Gargamel said righteously, and his words were full of integrity. These remarks immediately received everyone's respect and praise, and even Amber had nothing to say. After all, a duel is the most powerful persuasion between Shu and Shu. And put your hearts back in your stomachs, with me Gargamel here, even if a vasto lord like Baraggan comes, don't panic. Gargamel said meaningfully. The rest of the Espada members immediately flattered Gargamel again. Only the sixth Espada, Amber, looked a little unhappy, but he didn't dare to speak provocatively again. After resolving the internal dispute, Shingshu has no intention of staying here. Gargamel rushed into the jungle area first, and the rest of the people immediately followed after seeing this, causing the smoke and dust here to rise again, and Shushu and his group quickly went away at an extremely fast speed. Just as Gargamel and the others were advancing into the depths of this area, Lin Shang, Stark and the others walked towards the outskirts of the jungle while chatting. Lin Shang, is the candy you mentioned really that delicious? Linette asked curiously after hearing some worldly things explained by Lin Shang, and her mouth seemed to smack. Of course, there are many delicacies in this world, which are not available in Hueco Mundo. Lin Shang said with a smile, and also introduced many other types of food. As Lin Shang introduced more and more delicacies, Linette's saliva seemed to flow a little. Although they are imaginary, they are basically no different from humans after they have evolved to a certain level. Lin Shang, you must take me to eat these delicacies in the future. Linette wiped the corners of her mouth and said very seriously. Haha, of course, I'll let you eat your fill then. Lin Shang put his hand on Linette's head and laughed Kaido. Hey, I'm not a child anymore. Linette said with a disgusted expression as she dropped Lin Shang's hand. Aren't you a child? Lin Shang glanced at Linette up and down, and asked with a half-smile. Lin Shang, I will definitely beat you to death today. Linette rushed forward when she saw Lin Shang's appearance. Seeing Linette who was fighting with Lin Shang, Stark on the side felt an indescribable touch. Is this the companion? Stark murmured. He had never felt this kind of feeling before. Although Linette was with him, after all, they were the same soul, and they actually knew what the other party was thinking, so they rarely communicated in words. The image after Stark Arrancar is a lazy uncle, who belongs to the type of few words, but he attaches great importance to his companions in his heart, but he just can't express it. Linette's character is just the opposite of Stark's. She is a hot girl, especially after getting acquainted with Lin Shang. She seems to have liberated her nature, and she keeps chattering and asking questions along the way. After Lin Shang and Linette had a quarrel, the atmosphere relaxed, and even Stark couldn't help interjecting and asked, Brother Lin Shang, the kind of wine you're talking about can only be drunk when friends gather together. Is it? Of course, only when the companions get together, the wine will have that taste. During the process, the companions can also confide in each other. Lin Shang explained to him. Really? It's really an exciting drink. Stark showed a yearning look. After chatting with Stark and Linette, Lin Shang found that the life of Hueco Mundo is indeed a bit monotonous. I am afraid that many people do not understand these beautiful things. Do I have to make a 3-year plan or a 5-year plan in the future? Just when several people were chatting, there were 5 powerful Reiatsu in front of them approaching quickly. Is it your companion? Stark asked suspiciously. No, my companions are not so arrogant, and it is impossible for them to appear here. Lin Shang said, feeling the 5 undisguised Reiatsu. Is anyone coming? Stark. Linette asked belatedly. Although she is also a Arrancar, her individual strength is not strong. Well, 5 powerful Reiatsu are approaching. Stark said, looking at the rising smoke in the distance. As the smoke and dust swept closer and closer, 5 human-like figures soon appeared. Is this Arrancar? But the level of Arrancar is too low. What should I say, the exposed face is too ugly. All of them have gorilla eyes and fangs. Those who don't know it think they are filming a battle between humans and demons. Could this be Aizen's masterpiece? This workmanship is too good. After seeing who came, Lin Shang couldn't help complaining. Just as Lin Shang was complaining endlessly, Gargamel and the others stopped in their tracks. Looking at the appearance of Lin Shang and Stark, Gargamel was a little puzzled, so he asked the 9th Espada Diego behind him, why are there 2? Which one is it? When Lin Shang entered and exited the Void Knight Palace, Gargamel was devouring his companions who were also guards, so he didn't know what Lin Shang looked like. Diego was also a little confused. When his subordinates reported, he only said that 1 human had entered here, but he didn't say that there were 2 people here. No, it should be 3 people to be precise. It should be this guy. I remember that human being is younger. 9th Espada Diego confirmed by pointing at Lin Shang. Stark looks like an uncle, Lin Shang looks like a young man in his 20s, and Diego can only judge by this. Lin Shang, they seem to be looking for you. Linette said with her head turned sideways. Yeah, Lin Shang nodded and didn't say much. He probably guessed the origin of these guys. After confirming Lin Shang's identity, Gargamel walked over leisurely, and said as he walked, you are Lin Shang, right? Master Aizen wants to see you. Sure enough, Aizen has come to Hueco Mundo. But why would he want to see himself? Could it be because of the degree of Arrancar? Or recruit powerful Shu to join him? Of course, it's more likely to have both. Lin Shang analyzed Aizen's purpose, and therefore ignored Gargamel. Gargamel realized that the person on the other side didn't reply after he spoke, and suddenly felt that he was being ignored, and said angrily, boy, didn't you hear me? Are your ears stuffed with donkey hair? Hey, you trash, you look like an ugly monster, how dare you speak nonsense here? And you, who are you? You didn't tell me your identity when you first arrived here, and you just saw this and that. Why don't you let that guy named Aizen come to see us? The little girl Linette heard after Gargamel's words. Before Lin Shang could speak, he couldn't help but began to spray. Linette. Stark yelled helplessly as he grabbed Linette, who was endless. Stark, don't stop me, I'm going to show these guys a good look today. After Linette finished speaking, she rushed up impatiently, but was stopped by Stark. Gargamel and the others were a little messy. What's going on? I just said a few words, this little girl is so irritable. Linette is right. If Aizen wants to see me, let him come in person. At this time, Lin Shang's voice also came, and it seemed that he agreed with Linette's point of view. The more powerful Shu in the original book were all invited by Aizen himself. Although I also intend to meet with Aizen, if I go to meet like this, it will be too low-key. What are you? How dare you let Lord Aizen come to see you in person? No. Zero Espada Pastor couldn't help standing up and scolding. He thought these 3 people were too unreasonable, and dared to say such a thing about Master Aizen. Are you? Lin Shang asked calmly. Listen well, I am the 0th Espada Pastor, and you are proud to know my name, ha ha ha. Pastor laughed wildly. Is this your last words? Lin Shang's face darkened, and he went straight to Pastor. Could it be that you still want to fight with me? I'm really impatient. After the 0th Espada Pastor said this arrogantly, he rushed over without waiting for Lin Shang to come. Gargamel, do we want it too? Espada Diego, the 9th, asked for instructions. No hurry, let Pastor test this kid's strength first. Gargamel raised his hand to interrupt Diego's words. While they were talking, Gargamel felt a flash of coldness, which made his eyes twitch. That's it. Gargamel's expression turned serious, and the guy named Lin Shang seemed to have moved a moment ago. Looking at Diego and others beside him, it seems that they didn't even notice that just now. In the field at this moment, Lin Shang was still standing there, and Pastor was still running, as if the cold glow just now didn't exist. Go to hell. Pastor jumped up after approaching Lin Shang, fisted with both hands and hammered away at Lin Shang's head. Facing Pastor's attack, Lin looked like Shisui, and he didn't see any defensive or evasive movements, which made Gargamel start to wonder if he had just read it wrong. At this time, Pastor, who was attacking Lin Shang's head, felt that his vision suddenly began to blur. The human in front of him seemed to have become two. Do not. Wrong. It's not that the human being has become two, it seems that the distance between his eyes is getting wider and wider. Pastor looked down at his body, and it turned out that his body turned into 4 or 5 pieces and began to separate. When Pastor immediately exploded in midair after he uttered these words. His body turned into endless smoke particles and disappeared into Hueco Mundo, only a blue light shot towards Lin Shang. Pastor died just like that. The 8th Espada, Christ said with wide-eyed eyes. How is it possible? I didn't even see when the knife was released. 9th Espada, Diago's pupils constricted, and he really didn't notice it just now. This guy named Lin Shang is not simple. 6th Espada, Amber added with a serious face. What are you panicking about? It's because Pastor was too careless, so he was defeated by the enemy's tricks. What a waste. Gargamel first scolded them, and then cursed at the dead Pastor. Gargamel's words seemed to bring back the confidence lost by everyone just now. After the 9th Espada Diago reacted, he immediately complimented him. As expected, it is Gargamel who can see through it at a glance. The way of the enemy. Don't worry, this guy named Lin Shang will be captured by me and Amber, and the two of you will capture the uncle and the little girl over there. Gargamel turned to the remaining 3 fakes. Arrancar ordered. Yes. Christ and Diego immediately respected Kaido, and Amber responded reluctantly. Be careful, don't kill them. This is a gift for Master Aizen. When the time comes, Master Aizen will give us new powers if he is happy. Rist and Diego asked, but he just ignored Amber. Don't worry, Gargamel. Christ and Diego passed Lin Shang after returning, and went straight to Stark and Linette behind him. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.